to Yin and Young, the podcast. Today it's just going to be Yin, myself, Young. Young's my middle name. And Yin is Dan. It won't be joining us today, but I'm here with Tiger Sheu.
Yes, sir. Sorry, guys, you're stuck with me today. No Dan, just lousy old Tiger Sheu.
No, I am excited for this. We've been trying to text and put this together for a bit. Yeah,
it's been a while, right? So when's the last time we did that? Are we even allowed to talk about what we did?
I don't even know, but we did like we should
just talk about it.
We did like a little promo for a major studio.
Yeah, it's I don't know, but yeah, there was some. Let's just say if you like Jurassic Park, you're gonna like what we did. It's very coded, yeah.
Yeah, or if you like historical period drama action films.
If you like really well known walls that are not Donald Trump and immigration related. Well, I guess it was the original immigration wall, right?
Well, it's more like anti-barbarian.
Wow! You really just censored and cleansed that anti-barbarian.
Anti-barbarian wall.
Wow.
Yeah. So
you really sanitized some of our history there, didn't you?
Yeah.
I know. But anyway, so we met. Yeah, was that in November?
We met.
Or no, we couldn't have been all the way November. Like maybe earlier this year, right?
I thought it was earlier. Oh wait, no.
Was it 2017 or 18? No, it was this year. It had to be I think it was like February.
Yeah.
Wow, and it's already. Oh, can I curse on this?
Yeah, you can
okay,
totally
sorry.
curse on this fucking show,
all right,
yeah.
awesome shit.
Yeah.
So wow, it's already June now. I guess it wasn't that long ago, but it seems like it is one of those things that doesn't seem that long ago, but I know it wasn't like yesterday, you know?
Right.
Yeah. Anyway.
That was a fun. So this is how I remember it. Correct me if I'm wrong. So we, I think you guys were you and can I say your homie's name, Edmund?
Yeah.
I mean, is he a public figure?
I think so. He's the Chinese Matt Damon. Yeah.
Wait, where did he get that? Did you give him that?
No, look at him. That's how. I mean, just anyway. If you, I won't say any full names, but let's just say this for those listening: if you ever meet him, that is the first thing you will notice. And in a good way, I guess. He's markedly handsome guy, jacked, in shape, but he looks like the Chinese Matt Damon.
Yeah. And he's got.
Or Matt Damon looks like the white Edmund. Maybe that's.
We should probably say that. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's probably the better version of that.
We met, and I think you guys were like chatting up like martial arts stuff. And I was like, oh, and we just started talking about martial arts, and it basically, from my experience, I don't know if you have the same experience, but like when you get like some martial art geeks in a room, they can talk, like there's a connection, depending on how much training, depending on what styles and stuff like that. But overall, I find that as far as my social groups or as far as like friends in my life, if the martial arts people, we seem to click fairly quickly compared to other, maybe like also artists or Asian American artists. I also click with that group as well. It seems like we're it's like we're in on some sort of outside knowledge that other people are like, what? Like, what do you guys
I'll be honest with you.
Yeah.
And don't take this the wrong way by any means,
Don't take this wrong the way.
But it's funny you mention that because I'm a pretty straightforward person on these things.
Yeah.
If I'm being, candid.
Yeah.
So that shoot, and not to, again, divulge too much, but I don't know about you. I didn't know what we were getting ourselves involved in. I don't know how you got involved in it. But
Yeah.
literally, someone called me that I did not know.
Exact same here.
Their number was, blocked on mine. And a lot of times I don't answer because, I get a lot of scam calls. Since moving to LA, I get a lot of, telemarketing, right?
Yeah.
So
is your area code still Dallas?
Still Texas.
Okay,
still Texas, yeah.
We're going to get into that.
214?
We're going to get into that, yeah.
But when that happened, I was just honestly, I didn't know if I was going to do it. And I was also kind of on the fence because just in that time of my life, and it wasn't that, Fargo, it was pretty recent, that I just thought I would be somewhere else right now. As far as what my plans were. So anyway, it was funny because when I got on that set, and just like a lot of us actors out here, performers, entertainers, I think I always joke that working on a film, or especially auditions, right?
Yeah.
When it's the best, it feels like a great first date. Where you're saying everything that you want to do, your charisma's there, you're charming, the chemistry's flowing between you and whoever you're meeting for the first time, and there's that spark, wow, we're working together, right? And acting and auditions and working on a project and being on a set can also feel like the worst date ever when it goes wrong, right? Where everybody feels awkward, people don't know what's going on, blah, 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 right?
Yeah.
And I think every time you work on a project, at least for me, And again, who am I? I'm not like some hugely seasoned veteran, but I've been around the block a couple times where I always like that, like nervous energy. Like when it's like the first day of school, you don't know who's your new friend's going to be, who's your...
And so that's a good term, nervous energy.
When we worked on that shoot, what was funny is I didn't know Edmund was going to be there at all. Like, the thing is, like, I had no clue he was going to be. I think literally, like, maybe the day, because again, that shoot, I hate to be so cryptic, but basically what it was, me and James here, we got cast to be in a promotion type thing, and I'm probably sure that's all I can kind of say at this point, but a promotional type thing that ended up being much more involved and a little bit more, I don't want to say prestigious, that's kind of douchey.
I was just like shocked by some
the people involved.
I was like, whoa, this person's gonna be in this? I was like,
a larger scale, I guess. That's probably a bigger scale than what it was, because anyway. So
and we got a photo with one of them.
When we did it, it was like I didn't know what was going on, and I didn't even know like a friend would be there. So when Edmund was there, I was really happy, because sometimes it's great to go on these things and fly solo, but it is our job. And there are also times I think the jaded, dark, black heart in me is like, fuck it, just show up, do your thing, leave.
Yeah.
And again, I know I'm really like, hey, buckle in, guys, 'cause I go on a lot of tangents. But the reason I'm saying this is because a lot of times, like martial arts talk, right?
Sure.
I get really jaded. I get really kind of annoyed, especially in our industry, because a lot of people talk a lot, but they don't have a lot to say.
Okay.
And so a lot of times I don't really like engaging in conversations about things like martial arts or things maybe I'm passionate about.
Sure.
Because, again, I sound pretentious as fuck, is because sometimes people want to talk about it without knowing shit about it. They want to give you their 2 cents about it without, and it's like, why? So low key, I'm circling back. When Edmund was there, we started talking. I actually overheard you, and God, was his name Daryl, the other guy that you're talking to?
The other man who shall not be named.
I feel bad. I can't remember his name.
I think I have it on my phone. Yeah.
But he was there, and you guys were talking, and you guys were kind of talking about martial arts. And I remember I looked over at Edmund, and I was like, "Oh man, like, do we want to talk to these guys? Because it's either going to be like kind of like you said, like it's either on the good part of the positive side.
Sure.
Sometimes it's great. You have these like you really connect, right?
Yeah.
Kind of things, and it's great to talk about. But then other times it's like you butt heads, and again, that's fine. I'm not saying we have to have the same opinions, but I think just given the territory, there's a certain amount of like machismo, and especially in martial arts, Asian martial arts, a lot of ego, and martial arts should all be about no ego, right? But like everybody has too much pride, I think. Just my personal experience.
Like, oh, my style's better than your style,
And that's just shit. Like at this, especially when you're working on a entertainment thing. Performing
where
art.
like and also,
everyone wants to shine a little bit, right?
And everyone knows, and no one knows what the fuck is going on.
And like, and also like, short of us fighting, like you're not gonna settle that shit. Like again, I respect someone's opinion. They don't have to fight or compete or whatever. No, but it's just more of like there's a big difference between someone and just like anything in this world, like politics, religion, race, whatever. I like going into discussions where I go into it not trying to change your point of view, but to have an honest dialogue so we can both learn and grow. Because dude, you could have the ass opposite of opinion of what I think of something.
Yeah.
But if you can show something to me different that I never thought, that's what I go for. That's why I love talking to people with different opinions.
Sure.
Because maybe I can learn something. Maybe I can change. So
circling
back, I know all like half the people listen like fuck this guy Tigers, ADD, Ritalin, whatever. But when we first started talking, I was like, oh, here we go. Because Edmund and I, how we met at a party actually.
Okay.
A mutual friends party.
Yeah.
And kind of the same thing is that there was a lot of guys there who talk this big game of this, that, and whatever. And it's fine. They're not bad people. It's just, it's the industry we're in.
Yeah.
And it doesn't have to be martial arts. It could be singing, it could be dancing. We've all met them where they know a little bit of it, but because in this industry and in the town we're in, sometimes you have to talk a lot of, you have to, what's the phrase? Fake it to make it, right? And I don't believe it. I believe make it, or be good at what you do so you don't have to fake it, right? And so when I overheard you, and you guys come from the traditional world, more or less, right?
Yeah.
More or less. And that's where we came from. Sorry, a little circle back, but to Edmund, when we first met, it was at a party, and he started talking about martial arts, and being a Chinese guy, and me being Chinese, I have this very, what do you call it? Like, I wouldn't say love-hate, but like, conflicting feelings of martial arts, right? Because without Chinese martial arts and without traditional martial arts, that was my base. That's what I still go back to this day. But I think there's something to be said about beliefs and experiences. And this implies in life, not just martial arts, but people have their beliefs on things. They don't really have these experiences. And you see it all the time, especially in martial arts, where someone will be like I don't know, I'm just throwing out stuff, some names or whatever, but like a traditional Northern Shaolin guy, and they think Northern Shaolin's the best because that's what they're taught. No one's gonna teach you like, oh, my style sucks, right? Like,
right.
But it just because your style is very good and whatever doesn't mean that another style can't be as good. Doesn't mean that like there can't be crossover, and doesn't, you know what I mean? But it's because everybody have these beliefs. They don't have experience. They've never tried something else, but they want to be able to say it. Like they, you know, like, and that's what I don't believe in is that like some people like, look, I don't. Like, you got like a bicycle here. I don't bike.
Yeah.
Right? But I might have some opinions on it, but I would never want to try to speak on any authority about like, well, this is how you should bike. Because why? What's the fucking point, you know?
Right. And then have you actually biked to like San Diego or something?
Yeah. And I think martial arts and physical body things like this, like dancing, movie, it's different than sports. And I respect sports completely, but you could like, there's an old phrase like, you play basketball, you play football, you don't play martial arts. You either fucking do it or you don't.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
And when people like, for instance, basketball, baseball, you don't have to play at all to have a very good and informed opinion because of the way it is, the way it's developed. But martial arts, like, you can talk all the fucking mad shit you want and even kind of show that you have some knowledge of it.
Yeah.
But until you do it, that's all that matters to me. And I think to real martial arts, that's all that matters. You can talk to me how fucking good you are, how much you know it, and that's cool as a fan or whatever.
Yeah.
But if you can't throw a high kick, then you can't say... It's not that you can't correct someone, like you might have the technique. You know what I'm saying? Like you can still coach and whatever, but there's an authenticity to that. So anyway, I know, tangent guys. Me and Edmund met, and he was the first person in a long time that I've met where not only did he have the traditional background that I had, more or less, but he had also made that very tricky transition into doing what I, you know, more or less combat sports. You know, mixed martial arts, boxing, Muay Thai, wrestling, jiu-jitsu, which I think to this day there's a schism where people think it's like some. Like, oh, that's not... No, it is martial arts. Wrestling's martial arts.
Yeah.
It's the oldest martial arts.
Yeah, it's Greek.
It's in Asian people had wrestling, but it's like, those are... but the people look at it as, oh, they're sports or whatever, and there's aspects of that. You can say the same about Taekwondo if you wanted to. Right. I'm not saying it is, but you get what I mean. Like, and...
and Taekwondo came from a branch of Hapkido, I guess. That's what one of my Taekwondo... Anyways,
but my point is, so when we started becoming friends, is because he was someone I could actually have these honest conversations about, and really because he had the same experiences.
And did he fight? Did he ever fight? Or?
I can't speak for him. I think he competed. I don't know. You'd have to ask him. But
yeah,
I mean, literally, just I don't know. Like we're buddies, and but I've never really. You know, it's funny. I should ask him. I know he competed definitely like tournaments and stuff, but I can't speak for him.
I mean, I remember I posted one about I was sparring a guy on Instagram, and one of my. And this goes back to what you're saying, is that one great thing about martial arts, unlike other sports, like, so baseball, you can probably know all the stats and all the runs and stuff, and you can talk about it, right? But with martial arts, like, oh, well, show me. Like, okay, on the mat, if you get on the mat and you can't roll, the mat doesn't lie. Yeah. Or you can say, oh wait, my ribs hurt today, or like, and I've met
There's diminishing factors. That give you an excusable reason not to be good at it. And again, I'm not trying to sit here as being elitist or whatever, because look, there's a skill gap. There's people who like literally like it has no bearing toward how hard they try or whatever.
Sure.
Because then there's these arguments of like, giving everybody a trophy. I'm not trying to get into all of that shit. All I mean is that. Like in football, right?
Okay.
You can go out, play a game of football with your friends and be really good at it, right?
Yeah.
And people know, like, you're not as good as the NFL, right?
Sure.
But your opinion still has this validity for whatever. Like, like super fans of that. Okay. But martial arts is just different because I think, like, I couldn't hang with like the UFC elite or whatever, or even the worst person on a whatever circuit. But, it's a little different having been in some circles of it, doing it, and like your, I guess what do you call it? Your, opinion, I think, will matter a little bit more because you've been there and done that, right?
Right, and I think there's an analogy to acting as well. It's like basically, okay, you've been in this movie with this person, that person, this person. What, like, did you have a speaking role, or like, how much screen time did you get, or what short films have you been in? Like I kind of want to see your acting skill, and it's a craft as well. So I think what we're talking about now is craft, right, and skill level, and what that is 10,000, at least 10,000 hours or something like that, or lots of hours of concentrated effort, and people, this town, like, so moving from Dallas to here, was that like a big culture shock, like the way everyone talking the talk and stuff? Like, okay, let me ask you, in Dallas, like, what's the culture like in Dallas? Let's compare the two. Yeah.
So real quick, guys.
Yeah.
Because I feel bad, Dad. I'm like all over the place.
No, that's why I'm here. I'm here.
We'll draw it back.
Yeah.
I'm gonna try to help here and kind of bring something a little bit back. So real quick thing. So I've been living in LA for a little while. We're allowed to say that, right? We're allowed
of course. Yeah.
Originally not from here, from Texas, from Dallas, and grew up there. Worked in film and whatnot out there, and did martial arts, whatnot, of course. And now I'm out here, pursuing the dream, rocking back and forth in the shower with my fine arts degree, wondering where everything went wrong. Right?
You have a BFA?
Yeah, I think I've just got a BS.
Oh.
No, I have a BFA. It's a bullshit degree. No, I'm just joking. But yeah, I'm a Bachelor of Fine Arts.
Okay, cool.
Theater and dance.
Was that UT?
Yes, sir. Hook 'em horns, yeah.
Oh wait, University of
Texas.
Dallas? Texas.
Texas
okay.
at Austin, yeah.
Oh, UTA.
So
wow.
Longhorns, baby.
Yeah, that's a good school, dude.
Yeah, it's a good school. I'm very proud to have gone. Been the burnt orange. But yeah, so I grew up doing that stuff, and then the agency that I worked with back home, great agency. They had kind of a feeder here, I guess. I don't know if you want to call it that, but like they had connected me with some good people out here in LA, and that was just about the time. I was probably in my I had gone back and forth between LA and Dallas before. So it wasn't like I didn't,
Okay.
But I had never lived here as an adult. So more to your point of like culture shock.
Sure.
You know what's funny? When I moved out here, I really thought kind of like that Kill Bill thing, right? Where it's like, did you really, it's going to be that easy? Like, yeah, kind of, And I'm not talking about film specifically. Like, I'm not that cocky to think like overnight, you would be, I just thought like, hey, maybe make more of a living doing this.
Yeah, if you can do that, I mean, that's...
But the most culture shock, right, was the city. I didn't give enough credence, if I'm honest, to like how much it wears on you. And I know I'm not saying anything groundbreaking or philosophical or whatever, because much smarter people and have said stuff about this in the past and will in the future. But like, LA's a tough fucking city, man. I've lived in some pretty tough places when I was in China and whatever, but like, man, LA, it just wears on you. And it does all sound like, middle class, first world problems or whatever, but like the fucking traffic, the fucking people, like, and again, I'm not talking bad about LA. It's just that I think it's very difficult on people. I don't know, we can maybe go into, I don't know, how did you feel? I
mean, like, difficult in the sense that people are talking the talk, or like difficult, well, the traffic we can all kind of pretty much agree on, like, you could just look at the numbers, like fucking, it's ridiculous, the traffic, yeah. Well, but I'm more curious about, and that's probably like a city infrastructure issue, but I'm more curious about when you talk about people, because I spoke up with a writer on the last podcast, and we were going back and forth. She's from the Bay Area. Well, I'm originally from the Bay Area. She's from the same town as me, Milpitas. And, there's smaller cities like 80,000, and there's a certain sincerity, I think, in those people. There's sincere people in LA. It's just that I feel that basically I think there's more search. There's great people here. There is lots of whatever you want to do, you can find here. There's lots of martial arts here. Jiu-jitsu was like born
it's a
in
mecca
Torrance.
Here,
yeah. And like when
the Gracie,
the Gracies when they first brought it over. But like but there's a certain level of sifting I think you have to do here because it's such a sprawling city. You know? Like we're here in the valley. I can say that, I guess. Yeah. So we're here in the valley right now, but like it's kind of a sprawling city where you have to like. And trying to find your own social group, like that's been kind of tough. And dating, which I want to get into, but like I met up with someone from the shoot. I might edit this out. But I met up with someone from the shoot. I was like, just to hang out. I don't know if it's a date. We were just hanging out. But like that's what I do. Is like I've got to be like, if I want to create social service, it seems like I have to be more proactive. Does that make sense? Yeah.
I will definitely say this.
Yeah.
Because I meet a lot of like, and this actually is kind of, I would say, true for a lot of metropolitan cities, that like most cities you go to, it's not the people who are actually born, bred, and raised here, like an actual Los Angelinos or whatever, right?
I was going to say that.
Yeah, it's the people who come here, like me, like this asshole who's talking right now.
Yeah, this
who come here thinking LA needs to be something like you're what you imagine it to be, right?
City of Angels.
Yeah, and the people who come here who then I guess kind of play into that, whether it's a stereotype. I'm not saying I did that, but kind of my point is that, so being from Dallas, right?
Sure, yeah.
And I love Dallas. That was a great city.
Yeah, I've been to Dallas. Asian Film Festival.
Oh yeah. They've got a good Asian film
festival.
Yeah. It's underrated, and like here's the thing about Texas, and I get it. Like there's some, and I'm a huge proponent of Texas. I love Texas, and I think that's one of the best things about Texans is like the best thing about us is how prideful we are. The worst thing about us is how prideful we are, right?
That's
like,
the same, the double-edged sword.
They're the person you want on your team in a fight, but they're also the person you don't ever want to be against. You know what I'm saying? But the thing I think it's difficult is that, like, I came here with this preconceived notion of, being in Dallas a little more conservative. There's definitely less Asians, but that's all changed. It's like night and day from when I was growing up to now, right?
Okay, yeah. Can we say how old you are, or you're trying to keep that?
Oh yeah, I'm 31, man. I'm
so
old as shit, man.
So you grew up in the 90s.
Yeah. So like when I was growing up,
the knots, I guess.
Yeah, and there weren't like what do you call it, like the abundance of what we have here, and people sleep on this, but even the internet, man. Knowledge is so powerful. And again, kind of going back to the beliefs and experiences, like, you have these ideas of things, of the world, especially in your formative years, right?
Yeah.
And it's so different, not to sound like old man fucking River, but, like, just being able to get on the internet, like, let's take martial arts, for example, right?
Yeah.
I remember back in the fucking day, like, when you were doing Wushu, to do, like, a 540 was like, oh, it's this groundbreaking move, like, or a butterfly twist, right?
Okay.
Because you just didn't see people do it. You know? And now, and, like, I remember even back then, like, in my 50s, there used to be a website called bailang.com. And it's just funny because there's a certain amount of people tricking who know it, especially like the OGs of it, right?
Yeah.
And I'm not saying that that's me. I'm just saying like when I used to try to, like flail myself around to do these things.
Just a heads up to audience. Tricking is like where you do a lot of aerial kicks. A 540 is a particular like circular kick.
Yeah.
And I think it's came from Taekwondo, I'm assuming, right?
Taekwondo, Wushu. I mean,
Wushu. Okay,
but kind of what's cool about tricking was it's kind of like, as weird as it sounds, like the MMA of like performance martial arts, right? Like no, I mean really, like you would take whatever the coolest move, like from capoeira, whatever the flashiest cool stuff, and for katas, you would put it in this thing. So like sport karates, NASCA was the big thing, and anyway, so back then, you would do these things, and the funny part about it was like, you would watch, we download these videos, like I'd wait all night for like a 30-second clip to download, right? And then you see like Bailing was a place where all these triggers and created that community. Now it's like kind of taken for granted because on the internet you can find whatever you want, like any community, but back then there wasn't. So that's something small like martial arts, right?
Okay.
But let's talk like, bigger context, social, economic, race, whatever, right? So like LA to me was always been that place, right? Where it's this big melting pot, like here in San Francisco, right?
Yeah.
And I always just, for whatever, in my brain, even now living here so long, I always will picture California as that. And I shouldn't be shocked that, right, like, big whoop-de-doo, that people are going to not always, live up to your idea of it, because
there's a strong conservative element in Southern California.
Yeah, and it's not, I'm saying, and no politics here aside or whatever, like, I'm not saying one's better or worse, whatever, I just mean, you don't expect it, right? So I think that's the tough, when we talk about California, like, I didn't realize there's places like, and no shit talking about Fresno, but like Fresno's kind of different. It's definitely a little bit more, like more used to what I'm at home in Texas.
Dude, I got a homie, he's a detective in Fresno, and he tells me some scary shit.
It's different, right?
There's some, and Fresno's some nice parts too, but anyways, I know what you're saying,
Yeah.
There's like Central Valley area. California is pretty diverse.
And it's the thing about LA, and I was in San Francisco recently, and that was the first time in a long time. But like,
you were at the Taiwanese the cultural festival.
Doing a little hosting for that. But like, what's funny to me is I still always look at it as like this oasis, right, of like liberal thought and whatever. And I'm not saying that's the best thing, but just different because I didn't grow up with that, right?
Yeah.
And so sometimes I think the biggest culture shock stuff is that knowing like, it's not that way. And again, that's maybe very innocent and naive of me, but this is after years of it. But like, there's shitty people here too, just like anywhere, right?
Just like anywhere else.
And the thing that's funny about it is in reality, in our business, maybe even shittier people, right? And that's not a bad thing necessarily, but kind of going back to our point about all the stuff that we're dealing with, is that LA, I think the hardest thing about it, and once this producer friend told me about it, and he's fairly well-to-do, he said like, the sooner you learn this, the easier your life will be, is that LA relationships are transactional. And everybody's gut reaction, I think, hearing that is like, oh, like, wow, so you're saying everybody just wants to use people? Because that's what it sounds like, right? And to be fair, too, like, that's why it's shocking, because it's not so much about realizing, like, seeing the matrix. It's like, I think a lot of the things we deal with, we start realizing they're internal, right? Like, sometimes, like, when we see stuff, like, on social media especially, right? Like, social justice warrior, this, whatever. I think a lot of people, they get involved not necessarily because it's the right thing to do or the wrong thing. It's because they're worried it's bad reflection on them. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, and I'm not calling anybody out, but I'm just saying there's so many things going on in our world today where I think people, and they lose focus, and I'm guilty of this too. They lose focus of what they're actually fighting for. and it becomes less about, oh, I'm actually standing up for justice, I'm standing up for the right thing, and more about I'm standing up so I don't look like a fucking asshole, you know?
Yeah.
And so when he said that about the transactional thing, it really kind of freaked me out because I'm like, well, I don't want to be that guy. I'm not just some guy who will meet you to you know, because I'm getting something out of it and blah, 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 or whatever, vice versa.
Yeah.
But he kind of elaborated and explained, and the more I think about it, it's true. It's like, it's transactional in the sense it's not because it's like, oh, like, James, today I'm meeting you because, I don't know, like, it's worth this amount of X dollars, blah, 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 blah.
Right,
or like vice versa, right?
Sure.
But it's more the fact it's like, you have to do a lot of equating of time, value, worth that you don't do in other cities.
Yes.
And that's like, like today, right?
Yeah.
Like, why it took us so long to do this is because you don't live that far from me, right?
Yeah.
Any other city in the world, that's like a 2-minute drive. I could maybe ride a bike here, right? I'm done.
Yeah.
But here it's like, dude, that's like when I woke up this morning, I'm like, all right, traffic. What time of the day do I have? Like, where's my window?
Yeah.
After that, like, okay, parking.
Sure.
This, like, there's 20 things you worry about before you can even decide, like, hey, do I even want to do this?
Yeah.
And I think that's the hardest thing about LA is because most people you deal with, you know, there's so many great people out here along with the bad, right? And I'm someone who always thinks like more, you know, glass full than empty. Like, I think it's better, but sometimes the hardest part about being able to like get there, like you're saying, sifting, right?
Sure.
Is that like you just have to deal with so many things you have very little control of that nobody does.
Yes.
Like, again, traffic. I know it's the biggest stereotypical thing, but like you could be the lowest rung on a ladder in society, you know, or the highest one. Like you could be in the shittiest little car or on foot or whatever.
Yeah.
Or, well, if we're talking traffic, car, right?
Yeah.
You could be in like the shittiest little, you know, 10 times down hand-me-down piece of shit car that has 400,000 miles on it, right?
Okay.
Or in a fucking Benz.
Yeah.
Or like a Rolls, and you are still just as fucked on 405.
You're still going the same fucking speed.
Yeah. You know? And I think that's what's the hardest part about LA, that when I meet people, especially if they want to be actors or whatever.
Yeah.
And it's tough because, like, you know, it's the big fish, little pond thing. We've all been the number one somewhere else, right?
Right. And now all these big fish from small ponds are hanging out in this big pond. And then going back to this transactional thing, that reminds me of an article I read from Mark Manson recently about, it's called like How to Grow the Fuck Up. And I thought it was like, oh, it's interesting because basically we grow up, I'll quickly just go over it, but like, you know, we want something. Let's say we want to like eat like a dessert before dinner or something. Oh, but then that's gonna make mom mad who prepared dinner or whatever. So don't do that, okay? And then there's a transaction, and it's like, you know, I don't want. Okay, but if I can get that cookie afterwards or something. But basically, he talks about how as we grow up to be an adult, first of all, we go through a transactional phase where we realize, oh, in order for me to operate in this society, there are certain rights that I have to give up. You know, there's certain things I can't just like go pee in front of like the church. Or
you can.
You can,
but
there's consequences.
Yeah,
there's consequences. You learn that the society has consequences, right? You can't just grab things that you want, which is fine. That's how you mature and grow up. But then also you start realizing, oh, well then maybe I have to. Then here's where the dark side comes, where it's like, oh, I have to manipulate or I have to fake it, you know, in a certain way. Or like, dude, like one time I hanged out with a guy. You know, just like as friends, right? And he started, he's like, hey, but I would really like to work on a project with you. And I'm like, oh, I realized that we hanged out because he wanted something from me, you know?
Yeah.
And
that's the only reason I'm here, because James, all I want is, I saw that bicycle in that corner, bro.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt.
No, totally, it's fine. And which is, you know what? There's different degrees of transactional nature, but I think like you're here to do a podcast and maybe it'll promote you a little bit or whatever, like bicycle, and I have a bicycle that you might steal later afterwards. But to be honest, like I couldn't really care that much, like how many I'm doing this because it's something that in Buddhism they talk about the middle path, right? And a lot of people think that's just moderation. Yeah. But something I was speaking to a monk about this, and she was saying how like actually another interpretation is that instead of the middle path not just being, you don't want to be like forcing yourself to do good, and you don't want to be forcing yourself to do bad, obviously. This idea of where it's coming out of your Buddha nature, where it's coming out of 顺其自然, right? It's coming out of this sort of like this pure place, or this place that it's like you have this, like people who fucking like who wants to be an actor? Like, come on, you're basically unemployed most of the time. It's like life is you don't know where your next paycheck is coming, and people look down on you for the most part. Yeah. So if I could finish real quick, it's like it's basically. But I really want to perform. I have a story I want to tell. That's why I like writing and doing this podcast. So that's something that I've been trying to like struggle with recently. But yeah, sorry.
I was just saying. I don't want to interrupt your train of thought, especially because I can't speak for the mom. But what it sounds like to me, right, is balance, more or less, right?
Sure.
And the reason I say balance is because kind of tying into everything that we're talking about as far because I think it does. It's in life. It's applicable to martial arts, to life, to our careers, right? Is that this notion of balance is that when we face these realities, right? Because like just what you talked about a second ago about how when you're maturing, you kind of have to figure out that things are not black and white; they're gray, right?
Sure.
I think in LA and of all cities I've lived in, like it gives you such weird existential crises that can really seemingly stem from nowhere. And I mean, it's funny, like we joke about, but it's true. And kind of going back to that is like that experience you had with your friend. I think so many of us in LA have had it, and it's very unrelatable. Not because again we're some like unique delicate snowflakes, it's because most cities aren't like that. Most people are real. Every area has their fake people. But
I was gonna say,
here, I mean, but what I mean is that like it's just such a very unique like thing that people just kind of say, oh well, par for the course, right?
Yeah.
Whereas like if I acted that way in a different city, but fuck you, you're an asshole, right? But here it's like because you're conditioned to talk a certain way, to act a certain way, and I know for people listening maybe who aren't in LA, aren't in industry, it really sounds like, oh wow, you're just making excuses. Wow, that's a personal choice, and to be very fair, it is. But I think if you look into it in any industry, you'll find that. It's only different and unique because what we do is like consider this weird like frou-frou merrymaking, like it's all fun, right? But there's a business aspect to it. There's a lot of different things that go into it that you would face if you were a lawyer. You would face it if you were, in the corporation or in a restaurant. Like everybody has their own jargon and like inner politics that they work on any career, any field, right?
Yeah.
But I think what is tough about LA is again, it's like the Matrix shit, right? It's like, why did I take, was it like the red pill or I forget which one, but like the sooner, the sooner you realize it, the sooner you realize, hey, it's okay. And it's also like, hey, it's not okay. And by that I mean, it's okay because these, like we talked about these existential crises, like we talk about transaction. The moment you say that, I feel like the gut, at least for me, the gut reaction was like, man, is this what I really am buying into? Is this what I worked so hard for to finally be out here and try to make it that like and his advice was great, was that saying transactional just makes you feel like a bag of shit. Like, oh, that means I'm a manipulating person or I'm someone who's only, no, and because you
see people as numbers.
And then you start thinking to yourself, because when you know how bad it feels to be on the other end of it, when you're just trying to get to know someone or be real, and then you find out like, no, this isn't what it is. Like it's something completely different. And
they want like a acting job, or they want like a
you want to collaborate or
collaborate
from a very pure, I think, as naive as like a pure place, right? I think as artists or whatever you want to call us, like we all want to work with people because we want to create.
Yeah.
There's a sense of satisfaction and I think that's the thing in life. And I always think in life there's artists and there's technicals, right? Like, and there's not one better than the other. Both need to survive. And you look at the way that art has survived since the dawn of man, right?
Yeah.
It's like you have the patron, you have the fucking artist. Yeah. The patron handles all the technicals and the artist just does their thing, and then they converge together,
Okay.
Because just like me, like, look, I have certain skill sets that are good in certain ways, but not in other ways. And a smart person, I think, can go to the other people and be humble and admit enough to say, hey, I need help here.
Yeah, exactly.
Or can
asking
you
for
teach
help.
me? And same thing in martial arts, right? And vice versa. There's maybe people out there who want to do creative things, but and whether they just don't actually have enough interest to pursue it, maybe they don't feel they have the talent, whatever the fucking case it may be.
Yeah.
That's why it's like, again, balance, right? That's what I was kind of saying earlier, like you're finding balance.
Yeah.
So, sorry, rounding back, going to this whole idea of, the transactional thing is, once I kind of realized that, I was okay. It started helping me because why I say it was good advice is because I looked at it from such a very deep personal standpoint of like, what does this say about me and the people I'm around, and like, are we just all full of shit using each other? No. What he was talking about is like, it's just a different grind, different, harder way of looking at life because there's just things you can't control.
Yeah.
And when you look at like, okay, I used to feel so guilty because I'm one of those people that if I say I'm going to do something, I do it.
Yeah.
Or if I meet a friend, like they're a friend for life kind of thing, right?
Oh, wow. Okay.
And, to a fault, that's not always the best thing. Sometimes it's like, it's like when someone complains about being a nice guy or whatever, to an extent, the nice guy thing is like kind of an excuse. We all know people who are maybe too nice for their own good. And at a certain point, it's like you're just using that as an excuse, like, oh, pity me, woe is me. You know what I'm saying? I think a lot of guys deal with that where they say, oh, I'm the nice guy. Well, honestly, shut the fuck up.
Maybe they're nice to manipulate.
Exactly, right? It's like you're using that. It's like it's the same fucking shit. You're just, like, at least if you're dealing with a dick.
It's not authentic,
Yeah, at least if you're dealing with someone who's a dick, like, yo, at least I know where you stand. I respect that. I'm not saying I want to be around that person, but I respect it. What I don't respect nowadays as I get older is that, and I this is doubly hard because being Chinese, right, and being Taiwanese, like, it's like, when you need to pay for the check and you're like going back and forth, it's like sometimes like, yo, let's just do what we feel without any pretense, right?
Exactly.
So all that being said, I know for the listeners, deal with it. This is just how I am, how I talk, but that was the toughest part because it took so long to realize, like, hey, man, sometimes it's really okay to be transactional.
Yes.
Because I shouldn't feel guilty that, like, hey, I'm not willing to go 2 hours in traffic to deal with some bullshit thing to help somebody else if I'm not getting anything out of it. Not like monetarily, not whatever.
Yeah.
Because the reason I say this is because that person's not worrying about me. They're worrying about themselves.
Yeah.
You get what I'm saying?
Yeah, and you know what? Sometimes that's fine.
Yeah.
Worrying about yourself is totally fine.
I think that's the hardest part to understand about the cities, especially when you're young. I think everybody goes through a very similar thing as performers. You want to be fucking Johnny on the spotlight, right?
Yeah.
Like the guy like in Singing in the Rain, like gotta dance and
Yeah.
give yourself away to all these things, and you waste so much time and energy. And that's just the learning process, right? You got to keep failing, but it's tough because I think a lot of people that I know who are successful, they're great people. They're some of the most giving people in the world. They just know how to, I guess, partition their time better, allocate.
Yeah.
And it that way it doesn't drive you crazy. They stop caring what people think. Because I think the hardest part when I came out here was like being new kid on the block, trying to show that, hey, I'm hungry.
Yeah.
Hey, that I'm willing to help. Hey, whatever. And after a while, you give. And no one's asking you to give this. You just feel that's what you got to do.
Sure.
To make your main or your break or whatever, right?
Right.
So anyway, that I think is the hardest because in Dallas, I think it's just more straight.
Okay.
You want to do something, you do it.
Yeah.
And you don't have to worry about, like, if I want to go like 50 miles to go to a friend's house, that's nothing. That's like 20 minutes.
Really?
Yeah. Here it's like, dude, if I want to go to like James's place, right?
Yeah.
That's not that far. It's like, look, I'm not to do any give away any secrets, but like it's under 10 miles.
Yeah.
But in
Traffic,
LA, that might have been a 3-hour thing, and now I feel like a dick because I'm like, I don't want to go X amount of miles, not because I don't like you,
right?
But because like, dude, that will cost me. It's not even the time that we're doing this. It's the prep. And for filmmakers, that it's like, this is the pre-production. Then we actually shoot, and then we have the post-production. Like, I got to get home, I got to go sleep, I got to wake up.
Real talk, like, if someone were to like be really easy, I would be.
Then you get suspect, and then you feel like an asshole.
I would be like, wait, okay, because we don't want those fake nice guys, or fake nice ladies.
Because you're always suspect, and then that existential crisis time, like, why am I being this way?
Why am I so suspect? Right,
it's like, and I think this is kind of true of like the internet, right? Like, remember when, and I don't know if you had the same, like, we're around the same age, right?
Yeah.
Like
33, almost 33.
Like, remember when you had the internet, right? How awesome the internet was. Like, you go to a chat room, like, I'm meeting people from like Venezuela.
Right.
And then it turned to that point where like this awesome free thing to like now like, oh bro, like you can't trust people, right? And to be fair, that's true.
Yeah, and you know what came out really shortly after like chat rooms and stuff was like, wait, this girl's a dude or something like that.
Yeah, like catfishing. But
catfishing,
then the other thing happened is I remember after like people got hip and savvy to be like, okay, when you go online, like there really isn't a Nigerian prince who will give you millions of, like
what?
Like, I'm talking about.
Like, you broke my dream, man.
Like there's not a Nigerian prince to
prince. Oh,
but then remember when like Facebook and Instagram also like then it was cool because it's like you're connecting with people. Like I remember when Facebook, because remember that was close to colleges.
That's college years. Yeah.
It was amazing to like catch up with old friends from.
I messaged my high school crush recently, and she hasn't got back to me. But like, stuff like
that
is available.
It's like, like, wow, the wonders of technology. And then the next transition was like, yo, like I don't answer anything anymore. You know what I'm saying? Like back in the day,
overload.
Yeah, you would like wink, wave, whatever. And it's like, oh, fun and games. And now it's like that's creepy. You know what I'm saying?
Right. I had a friend, a roommate in UC San Diego where I went, and he said, I am not going to add any more friends after 100.
Yeah.
I was like, why? He's like, dude, they're not, after 100, they're not really my friends. I'm like, but now people have like 4,000 or 5,000 friends.
And here's the other thing, right? When you first started, like, you felt stupid if you only had 20 people on Facebook, right? But again, these are, look, I'm saying this, and I'm just fully admit it, like, there's probably people out there who are better handle on life, got their shit together where they feel like they don't like. I'm only coming to this conclusions now after years of test failures or whatever, but I think it's a very relatable thing because a lot of people, you know, we're in crazy times where we don't talk about how quickly things are moving. We don't talk about the effects these things have, seemingly innocuous, mundane things that really have a big effect.
Huge effect.
You know, and it's not because it happens all at one time. It's like it chips away.
Yeah.
And I think that's the hardest fucking thing about LA. I have a friend who they recently moved here, and I remember like I don't want to be mother hen, but I like to help, and I could hear their frustrations in what they expected LA to be. Like they still love it. Like there's still great opportunities, but it always sometimes can feel like when you're here, you're like looking from the outside in. Like you know there's opportunity here. You know there's these good things, but how do I do it? You know, and I remember them telling me about like, oh, we've been here almost a year and this hasn't happened, and all they see is the bad.
Yeah.
And yet all I see is the good because I've been there. But I was the same person when I moved here where things were going very good when I first moved here, but all I saw was the things that I wasn't getting.
Okay.
And in hindsight now, I'm like, man, I wish I could just go back and be like, look, yeah, maybe you're not where you thought you'd be, but you're doing a lot better than you realize. Chill the fuck out.
Right,
you know?
because the expectations not matching. Yeah.
And I think I'm sorry. That's what's kind of. I hope this all makes sense. But why, when you ask, what's the hard part about it? Or what's the weirdest thing is? I think that's the thing about LA that I just never understood. Whenever I heard people say like, "Oh, the city has an energy," I don't mean this just city, any city. I always, as a kid, I'm like, "What do you mean? Like you're in a big thing and you're a small cog in it." Unless you're at the top of the top, how do you feel that like the pressures or whatever, blah, 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 you know, like how it really affects you? Like I lived in Dallas and yes, there's things that affected me, but a lot of times they were very more blatant and direct. Does that make sense?
Straight
like,
shooters.
Yeah, like it wasn't, no, I don't mean the straight shooters, I mean like the energy, quote unquote, right?
Oh, interesting.
Because there was a separation of like, look, I lived in like a fucking suburb, right? I didn't know what it was like downtown or whatever, right? Whereas LA, I do feel like this city and just a lot of these big overcrowded metro, like New York, I'm sure.
Yeah.
They're just this feeling where like you feel that weight, that pressure, that sense.
Yeah.
And that's the toughest thing. So
right.
Why I say all that stuff, what was the hardest thing to get used to here was that sort of, and again, I'm having an existential crisis now, right?
But every day.
Yeah, but then I think that's what's hard. And I was just joking, like, because when we talked about dealing with things, right? The toughest part that I even struggle with to this day, right? Where we talk about the transactional things, the relationships was like, I need to go to the grocery store today. Any other city in the world, that's maybe an hour. I can do the rest of my day, no problem. I fucking want to go to Costco today, right?
Yeah.
I had to plan that shit out, man. I went there at like 12. I left at like 2. And it wasn't even because it took me whatever, but it's like because there was a fucking line.
Yeah.
And then, yeah, Costco's get busy. I get it.
Yeah.
But parking.
Yeah.
Then this. Then that. Then blah, blah, blah. And it's like sometimes, man, I wish I lived in a city where I could go to fucking Trader Joe's, buy 2 fucking avocados without having to, you know, like pay for valet. And not that I do that, but you get what I mean.
I know what you mean. Yeah. There's a lot of people who live here.
Yeah.
And who want similar things, going to Costco, right?
Yeah. And until you've lived it out here, and even when you do live it, until you leave and you realize, hey, man, there's a whole, like, because we deal with it because we think, hey, by dealing with this shit, we're going to get where we want. Like, it's like not a sacrifice. I don't want to be so dramatic, but it's like the cost to play, like, you know? Yeah. Whereas, like, whenever I leave here and I go somewhere else, like when I go back home and I'm like, there's Trader Joe's there. I remember, like, I was with my sister and I was thinking to myself, she's like, hey, do you want to go to Trader Joe's with me? I'm in LA mode, like, shit, do I? Because it's like 9 a.m. right now. That means traffic's going to be so bad at 4 or 5. I shouldn't go until at least 10. Because, you know, I'm just going to be sitting in the car, blah, 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 all this stuff. And then I got to come back. And then, like, she's like, do you want to go or not? Because she went to Trader Joe's, which was like 20 miles from where we, you know, lived.
Wow. Was
there and back in like less than an hour.
Wow.
Right? And like had the rest of her day. She gets so much shit done. Whereas in LA, sometimes like, the most accomplished thing I do is fucking Trader Joe. You know what I mean? Like, how ridiculous is that, right?
That's ridiculous.
Yeah. So.
Well, I want to circle back kind of about like a little bit about a biographical.
Okay.
Yeah. So, you have brothers and sisters, I guess?
I do.
Okay. You are the youngest, middle? Or?
I am the youngest, yes.
Okay. You have a
older sister.
Yeah. Cool. So like growing. Okay. Let's. I guess I should have started with this, but like, okay, your parents are from where?
Taiwan.
From Taiwan.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. And they moved here.
I'm a bad son. I don't remember when exactly.
Okay, well,
but
no,
like,
it's
yeah,
fine. But you grew up.
I was born and raised in Dallas. Yeah.
You were born and raised in Dallas. So you went to elementary, middle, high school. Mm-hmm. Okay, cool.
College, you know.
Yeah, and how was you said that as far as demographic wise, fairly white growing up?
Yeah, I mean, like, I don't have the hard data numbers, like, especially in this
No,
day and
no,
age,
but
right? But
I want
yeah.
the feeling, the type.
I mean,
yeah,
let's just put it this way, like,
Yeah.
God, I'm really trying to think of. I really feel like it's probably, and I don't want to throw any names out there, but like, probably less than 10 people per grade that were Chinese or Asian or whatever the fuck, right?
Yeah.
And like, I'm reaching, man. I'm really reaching here.
Okay,
you know?
yeah.
But it's just weird because I say that and it makes it sound like, I'm not trying to make it sound like Dallas is some wasteland of diversity. No, it's just that.
Not anymore, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, but it's just like, yeah, it's not the majority. It's uncomparable to like LA, right?
For sure,
or New York.
Yeah.
And if I'm being very real, it's just because, I mean, that's just the way it was.
Right.
You know, like there's just more white people there, and Asians aren't a lot. You know.
Okay, and growing up, your group of friends were mostly white, obviously. I
Yeah,
guess.
Yeah.
Did you face any like discrimination?
Oh fuck yeah, man!
Oh, you did?
Yeah,
Wow,
fuck yeah. I remember. God, I don't know if I should say his name, but I had a really good friend who lived down the street from me, a white guy, right?
Sure.
His sister was kind of sisters with my friends. Like they were around, like we're around the same age difference. Like me and him were the same age, and I think his sister was probably in the same grade as my sister. Like so, the same dynamic more or less.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
And me and him were fucking cool as shit since we were, you know, because he was like my first friend, right? And I talked to him about like we've lost a little bit of touch. Nothing bad. It's just it happened. Like he moved and all that stuff. But I remember my first day of kindergarten because like our elementary school was like within walking distance to our school, right? My sister went there, his sister went there, and I was fucking excited as hell because I mean, just like most people, right? Like when you're young, race regardless, you just don't know the world past of what's in your home, what's, you know, what you do, right?
Yeah, exactly.
And like I grew up speaking English, like this is a little tangent, but like someone was talking to me the other day, like, what was your first language? To be honest, I don't know. I know Chinese people who were born here and their first language was Chinese.
Yeah.
But a lot of times this is their first kid. I was a second kid, so I think I want to say my first language might have been English. I don't know. You know what I mean? But like I grew up speaking English and Chinese, but I was American. I was a fucking, you know, young patriot kid, whatever. And so our first day of fucking kindergarten, I remember, you know, just it's a wealth of new kids, and I wanted to make friends, and I was Chinese, and we're going through the role, but I didn't see myself as like, you know, different, right?
Okay.
You know, I don't know. I've always said that like I'm a person first. I'm Chinese, Taiwanese, whatever the fuck it is. Next, I'm an actor. I'm a martial artist, whatever. It's just I just happen to be those things.
Okay.
I'm very proud to be Asian American.
Sure.
But I don't define myself by those things.
Okay.
I stand up for those things. But like I think my fight has always been to the equality, and maybe this is naive, but like I don't want to view us as like, oh, he's good actor for an Asian. No, he's just a good guy who happens to be fucking Asian. You know what I'm saying, right?
Yeah, I know what
so
you're saying, yeah.
when I'm in this class, 6th grade or 6 years old or whatever, 5, 6, whatever we are at that age in kindergarten, and we're doing roll call, my friend was sitting next to me, like, you know, we buddy, and like down the line we're saying, and everybody's name's like Smith, you know, whatever, like last names, whatever, they get to my last name, and this kid just out of nowhere, he just stands up and he points at me and he goes, oh, me Chinese, me play joke, me pee in your coat, with a slant-eyed shit, with, you know, all that stuff going on. Oh my god. And I'm just staring there like, what? Like, because I never heard that, right? And all these kids started laughing and like making fun of me that and like, remember, this is like in class, and I remember the teacher, like, you know, I looked at her like, because it was so weird, I didn't even register that was an insult.
Wow.
Because I didn't know what it, you know?
Yeah.
And she just kind of looked and kind of shrugged her head, and I remember I turned to my friend, because now everyone's laughing and pointing at me. Now I'm understanding that, like, yo, this is not right.
Wow.
And I don't say there's any malice in my heart.
Yeah.
Right? Maybe back then I did, but like I remember looking at my friend, and because he just wants to fit in, he was doing the same shit as they, like, pointing at me, and like it broke my fucking heart, right? Because look, I was too young to be like, oh, this is the racial oppression since 1882.
Yeah,
like,
the hegemony.
Yeah, diaspora. It was just like, just being different, right? Like being told that you're not part of this, right?
Yeah.
And that's what happened, man. And again, like I said,
That's traumatizing.
I've even brought it, because, you know, the funniest thing, to his credit, years later, like he became like a lawyer and all this stuff. He's a good guy, right? He actually hit me up randomly on Facebook, just out of nowhere, right? And he's like, hey man, like, did you know that like calling people Oriental is like racist? And I was kind of like, yeah, I might have heard a yarn or two about that. And he's like, yeah. He's like, I hope I never said anything like that to you. I'm like, let me. And again, we're kids, right?
Yeah.
I'm sure, to be fair, I'm sure I did some fucked up shit. I'm sure we've all done probably racist shit or whatever, you know, whatever the bad thing that is back then, because we didn't know, right?
Sure.
And it's not an excuse, but that's just how, you know, again, that's how it was.
We're
right?
naive.
Like,
we don't know. Yeah. How it can hurt people.
So I just remember that happened. I was just like, wow, like my one buddy, like I was alone, right?
Yeah.
And some people I know who are not Chinese, not Asian, not person of color, if that's, I mean, look, I preface a lot because I just don't even know what the right thing to say is anymore. I just don't want anybody coming after me.
Right.
You know, saying the wrong shit.
Like you say you're Chinese, but your parents are from Taiwan. That's a whole.
Oh yeah. And again, like, oh fuck.
Are your grandparents from China though?
Yes. I
okay, so, then I think you can say you're.
But Chinese. No, but I think my dad is like, you know, Taiwanese. But like, here's the thing, like, but I don't think any of us were like Aboriginal, right? I feel like that's another argument, right? Like, whenever I meet Taiwanese people, like, I'm pro, like, but you're not like from. You get what I'm saying, right?
Well, like you don't get like Americans here saying they're British American.
Yeah,
British,
but the only reason I say is because whenever
I guess you do some Italian.
Maybe it's because I'm conditioned. Is like when I was in again, that's maybe the difference in Dallas. Sure. My parents were like, we're Taiwanese because we are, you know. But I remember I went to a doctor, and when I was a kid, like a pediatrician, he's like, "Oh, what are you?" I'm like, "I'm Taiwanese," right? And he's like, "Oh yeah, I love Thai food." Like, I think out of convenience, and that's why I don't want to get in a whole argument or whatever about it. But like, I'm not saying we are, but you get what I mean. Like,
I know what you mean.
The politics of them, like, is because it was different. Like again, it was different when I was a kid. No one like even the fact that you could tell that you were Chinese there was different because they were like, "Are you Japanese, Korean?"
Oh god.
Like, you know what I'm saying? So it's like that was the least of my worries, right?
But but you made it. I mean, like you made a group of friends, social group of friends. So how was it in high school then? Like, did it get better or?
Man, it seems so dramatic now, right? Like, did it get like, you know, what was that?
Because like kindergarten, like for you to remember that and to stick. I remember like in I think it was middle school, and this is like in the Bay Area too, where there's a lot of Asians, and I had a culture shock coming. I went to San Diego for undergrad, and like seeing all the white people, I was just like, whoa, and then feeling like a minority for the first time because I felt like a majority in where I grew up. But like I remember in middle school, some
I never felt like the majority. Nowhere.
And then these black
kids.
Tell
me what it's like.
Yeah. So
is it as magical as I?
It was pretty dope. I mean, anyways. In middle school, there's these group of black kids saying, "Hey, go back to China." I'm like, "What did I do?" Like I was playing basketball or something, and they were walking past me, looking at me funny, and I'm like, "Okay." And I'm playing basketball with I was by myself. I was just shooting, and then they turned around and say, "Hey, go back to China." And the only thing I was just like, the only thing I could say is like, "I'm not from China. My parents are from Taiwan." Which it's like. Anyways,
you're barking up the wrong tree at that point. There's like, what's the fucking point? You don't know how to argue that.
But to be honest, that was, I think, as far as all my interactions, that was in the minority as far as being attacked racial or being called out racially. I mean, so I was lucky in that sense because then back in high school, Asians were the majority at my high school, and it was interesting that feeling. But it was like, how was high school for you then? Yeah.
Well. God, I really don't want to sound like I'm bragging or some shit because there's just no good way of saying these things that happened without sounding like you're just talking like. Because look, I'm a piece of shit. I'm a self-deprecating kind of guy, and so I always feel weird saying. But like, I was the president of my fucking high school.
Oh wow. Okay.
But let's kind of backtrack here a little bit.
Let's backtrack. Yeah.
So I think just for most kids, junior high was probably the hardest time for anyone, right?
It's a transition. It's like a weird little fucking middle
I mean,
school.
Your balls are dropping. You're getting
your voice is
boobs.
changing.
I don't know.
Yeah.
Wispy mustaches, terrible.
Yeah.
So maybe like a little timeline. So like, look, kindergarten, I remember that, right? And that wasn't the first. Oh wait, that was the first, but it wasn't the last time that shit happened.
Oh yeah.
And unfortunately, even now, but again, like you can deal with it better, I guess. Yeah, right? Like you said, like it gets better, but
you have more tools. Yeah.
I hate to say this, like I did deal with a lot of racism, but in school, I can't really complain that much.
Okay.
If I'm just being really honest, because
it's
funny how different things are. Like my sister's older than I am, and her high school experience, and she's a different personality. I love my sister to death, but she's I'll just put it this way: she's definitely a bit of a firecracker. Difference between me and her is that, like, I think, like my parents even kind of used to say it's like, you guys both get in trouble, but you will always figure a way to like get home or whatever. Your sister's a little different. Like, she gets in trouble, and we might have to intervene, right? Like, and honestly too, I think it's just because. This is a very Chinese thing. I think she's always felt weird about it because I'm much more like my mom. She's much more like my dad. I don't think it's a bad thing. But
I find that way with my family dynamics.
Yeah, every family has those kind of dynamics. But I think because like my parents divorced and me and my mom and my sister grew up together, I think she always felt maybe a little bit like because we were like that, she was different. But in reality, not too much family stuff. My mom and my sister are so much alike that it's like as I get older, I see it. I'm like, oh, like, but because they're so much alike, they don't see it. That's why they butt heads.
My sister and my mom,
right?
Totally. And,
Yeah.
And I like
from afar, you see it, right?
and
Like,
she's always proud to say like I'm like daddy, you know.
Yeah.
But then I'm like, dude, there's some mommy traits you got.
Yeah.
And then I've got daddy traits. I got mommy
Yeah.
traits too. That's just growing up in the same fucking household.
yeah, and my sister's a strong, independent woman, just like my mom, and stands up for. She has a strong sense of right and wrong, and
So you grew up mainly with your mom, both of you. Okay.
well, that's another, but that might be another podcast. But so growing up, the reason I say it's different is like, man, she had like a horrible experience in high school. I don't want to speak for her, but like, I mean, she got bullied, she got this, she got that, and all this other shit. Like, I remember, it's funny, just a quick little thing in Kung Fu, there was a guy who went to her school. This is like, I think she was in maybe graduated at this point, whatever. But she was, and I always have to thank my sister to death because she was the one who got me into martial arts. Like, I'd done it. My dad put me in martial arts when I was a kid, but I didn't take it seriously till her.
Oh wow.
But this guy came to the school, and you know, it'd been a couple of years, I guess, after, and he had bullied my sister. And he was a bully. Like, he was this, and it's funny because like right in high school you're the man or whatever, but he wasn't even like some jock. He was just some douchebag. Like, just this kind of,
Did he like secretly like her or?
Fuck, man, there's no excuse for it. Like, he
No
like, pushed her up
excuse.
against the locker from what I understand. But like, what it was he was basically like, I always joke, he's like a fat guy bulging with what could be muscle. Like, he's that guy who like, he's not in shape. He's a bigger guy naturally, but he's just a fat guy. But it could be strength, you know, whatever. And he started going to my Kung Fu school, and I kind of had some words with him because I remember like, and now I'm more or less not a grown man, but I was in my teens, and you know, but my point is that, so she had a different experience. She had that kind of shit going for her. I didn't. I had bullies. I had, not necessarily bullies, but I had that shit, because that just happens in school.
Yeah.
I'm not qualifying bullying. I'm not taking a stance of whatever. I just mean more of like, school, like growing up is hard enough as it is.
Yeah.
Without, let's say, the factors of race, economics.
Yeah.
It's just, man, you're just gonna, like, when you meet the real world, it's tough. But
Yeah.
I dealt with race, yeah. Like, I have a really stupid, another story about kindergarten, but I don't want to get too far off. But like, I always used humor as a way to diffuse it, right? And that's definitely changed now that I've gotten older.
Right.
But I used humor because, you know, I was kind of an overweight kid. I fucking
yeah.
I strolled into kindergarten. Look, I didn't get really overweight until I started living with my dad. That's another thing. But like, when I rolled into kindergarten, I rolled in there with a name like fucking Tiger.
Yeah.
My mom thought it was cool to give me a fucking rat tail. Right, like a giant, like I remember. I don't think there's any pictures of it, but I remember it. Like, I had a giant, like an '80s rat tail. Like, it wasn't even like braided or whatever, like wonky hunks. It was just like a flat. It looked like, you know what it looked like when you open up a printer and there's that little like, you're talking about that ribbon or whatever.
The color ribbon. Yeah.
So there's that on my head, and growing up, I had a lot. It's funny, I guess we're not doing video, but if you look at my teeth, like pretty straight teeth. I have some nice teeth. I think.
Yeah.
Not to brag,
yeah.
but I've never had braces or anything.
Wow.
Yeah, these two front teeth actually fell out when I was a kid, and my mom shoved them back in my face. But as a kid, I had a whole grill of silver teeth. You know, I think a lot of kids had that growing up because like I had a bunch of cavities apparently. Oh. And so I went to school with like a mouthful of silver teeth, a fucking rat tail, right? Like,
and you were kind of, would you?
At that point, I wasn't yet. I was, but like, only Asian kid.
Okay.
So I'm already set up from the, like, fuck if I was Asian, like let's say I was any other race or whatever, even if I was white, that's a tough sell. That's a tough sell.
Yeah,
right?
that's a tough sell. You're like looking like Post Malone or something.
Yeah. Like, now it's cool. Maybe I was ahead of my time, but so when I got fat as a kid, I just liked to joke. That's actually what I thought I was going to be growing up. Ace Ventura was really big then. I love talking on my butt cheeks, still do.
Okay. Yeah.
So I thought I wanted to be like Jim Carrey, you know, like
comedian.
Do that. So
okay.
I think that being said, for most kids, and this is pretty universal, race related or not, is if you can be the funny kid. I don't know. I thought it was funny. I don't think I was necessarily the class. I always thought I was a class clown, but I don't think I was the class, like official class clown, right? Because I feel like it's always reserved for some like white kid named like Steve. You know, like
fuck Steve.
Fuck Steve. Like the Spicoli, you know what I mean? Like, and he always ends up like
Steve, yeah.
working at the Blockbuster or whatever that doesn't exist anymore. But anyway, now I feel bad for Steve. But so I grew up like the class clown joking, whatever, right?
Yeah.
And then when I got really into martial arts, like hardcore, it was like 6th grade. You know?
Were you kind of? Did you have a weight issue then?
That's the thing. So probably I would say 3rd, 4th grade.
Yeah.
Like to fix. You know, I have like little baby weight. I was just fat. I had like a 36-inch waist and like 3rd or 4th grade was pretty big. I was fat. And back then my mom used to joke because like, you know, money was kind of an issue back then. It was tight.
Oh, okay.
There's a famous story I find it famous. I guess it's not famous because no, I'm not famous, but like it's just every time she's ever met any of my girlfriends, whatever, I bring home, she always tells the story, but it's like, oh yeah, when Tiger was, and my mom speaks perfect English, and I don't know why I'm giving her an accent, it just makes the story better. But she'll always say like, when we were younger, Tiger always wanted to eat hamburger because he was fat. You know, like if that wasn't already implied, right? Like,
Oh, gosh.
like he always wanted to eat hamburger, but you know, money was tight, and so I would always tell him like, you know, why you always want to go and eat hamburger? We can eat at home, save money, and it's very Chinese.
Very
whatever.
Chinese, yeah.
And
My
she's
mom
like-
says that to
yeah.
me today, yeah.
And she's like, but you were so fat, and you know, you're my 宝贝, right? Like, and
my
wanted to-
treasure, yeah, I'm precious, yeah.
And I wanted to, you know, make sure you're happy, and things were so hard back then that, you know, I was already so strict. You know, we all have superwoman moms, right? And especially Chinese moms, right? Like they do so much to make it happen. And she's like, but I didn't want you to not have what you wanted, but I also was worried about your health. So I'd always break down and buy you a hamburger, and you'd be so happy, you'd be eating it. And then I'd get so mad. And again, this sounds horrifying, right? But this was the reality back then. She's like, and then I would get mad at you. It was like, oh, look at you, how fat you are. You're an embarrassment. Like, you know, we have to go here. We lose money. And then my friends laugh how fat you are and how terrible you are. And you were so fat that you'd be going from so happy eating the hamburger to like crying. And then I would feel bad because now I made you feel bad.
Yeah.
But you were so fat that you couldn't stop eating the hamburger. So you'd be like, so you'd be half crying, half eating the hamburger,
gosh.
right? So anyway.
So you got trauma with hamburgers.
Yeah, man.
Yeah,
I got some real mom issues. I got some.
Yeah.
Anyway, so like that.
So you got into martial arts.
yeah. Sorry. So I got into martial arts because it wasn't.
Sister.
Yeah, it wasn't because I guess wanted to stop being fat, but it just hit me right. Like I was hitting puberty, right? I was like 12 or 13 or something like that.
Okay.
My sister started training at a kung fu, and that's what I always love and appreciate my sister. She's always more willing to try things than I am. Like I'm open-minded, I think, but she's just one of those like I overthink to where I don't end up doing things. She doesn't think enough and then just goes straight for it, which is sometimes good, you know, right? On both hands. Like, you know?
Both of those personality types have their advantages and disadvantages.
Sometimes she should think more and do less. Sometimes I should do more, think less, right?
Gotcha. Yeah.
And so we started doing training at this local kung fu school, and it just so happened to be a very good one.
Was it, what style was it?
It was Mi Zong Luo Han. It was Northern Shaolin. So, you know, like most kung fu.
Luo Han.
Luo Han, yeah, the Buddha fist or whatever, right?
Like the 108, like Luo Han.
Yeah. But a little difference is, you know, a lot of styles here are said in Cantonese, because, right, the majority of the, you know,
from
features.
the southern styles.
Yeah. And even if it's northern, but that's another, like, we should do a podcast about just the history of that.
Oh, the history.
But so my teacher was like a Cantonese guy, so in Cantonese, like, my Zhang La Horn or whatever. My Cantonese is terrible.
Okay.
But yeah, it's a northern Shaolin style. It's known for its big sweeping motions and sand scraping steps and whatnot. And, yeah, we're very known for our ability to kick sand as a defensive man. Like literally, like I mean, I'm joking, and I'm sure there's some martial arts nerds like outraging at that. I just classified it as that, but yeah, like you kick sand and
into their eyes.
Yeah, and like the beach and like, you know, or you go to the.
That's
like,
hey, whatever works.
Well,
man.
supposedly the style was critics is like, you know, so many of these styles have these romanticized creations, which I'm sure partly are true, partly are fantasized, right? But supposedly like the Luo Han, the abbot who created, was like running from like the Manchurian yoke or something like that. That was, you know, back in the day, and suppose it's called the lost track style because it's kind of a rarer style, right? But it's Northern Shaolin, and he was running away, and the way to trick the Manchurian officers chasing him in the snow is he would like kick his feet backwards, so like to cover the tracks, right? And so like that was part of it. And
I
then
love
like
that shit.
if you fought on the beach, you would also use to kick sand. And
oh my god!
But I mean, it's
like
sounds,
a wuxia 小说.
Yeah, it sounds so ridiculous
Yeah.
once you're away from that life. Like I'm not about that life no more. But as a kid trying to learn about my culture,
you inspired me. I'm gonna kick some sand.
Yeah,
tomorrow.
like I loved it. So we trained that style, and
great.
that,
Okay. So you really got into it in the 12th grade because of your sister. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Was it? Do you feel like? Did you also feel like you had to change your diet or something, or like your exercise?
No, I was still lazy as shit, and I was still eating. I didn't really learn how to. I feel eat until like fucking at least college, and even then was like a crapshoot because I was. But what had happened was, you know, once I started training, it just taught me like classic stories, right? Of like, it taught me discipline. It taught me like, yo, if you put in this work, because nothing I had done up until that point, because like my parents put me in piano and all that stuff. I didn't, even though times were tough, I still got to have a really great childhood. I got to play sports, got to do, like they made it work. And then when I look back now as like a fucking starving, broke ass actor right in LA, I'm like, how the fuck do I take care of myself? Where I look at my parents and I think, how did they allow me to have so many opportunities? My sister with the budget that they had. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's crazy. Yeah.
That's
why I'm probably not gonna get married for a little bit.
Thanks, Obama. No, I'm just joking. But like, yeah. So when I started training, I think that was the first because it didn't happen overnight. You know, when we're talking about it in hindsight, it makes all this sense, right? The dots all start connecting. But back then, no. I think the most important thing was that it helped me like learn about my my Chinese roots.
Oh, great.
Because Kung Fu is my connection. 'Cause everything else, and here's another thing, like not to say anything bad about Dallas, because I love Dallas, and now it's very different. They embrace it, but back then, if you just like any place you live in, it could be the reverse. If you're like a white guy in China, I don't know, or wherever, like you might not be looked upon as very highly because you're not the majority, right? And so I felt honestly growing up kind of like a second-class citizen.
Oh.
Maybe not even like steerage, whatever. What was the class that Jack from Titanic was on? You know, like steerage, dance, like because you know I never felt like people took my opinions, my thoughts seriously because
okay,
it didn't fit in.
Right.
I think that's a very common thing, you know.
Yeah.
And Kung Fu was the thing that really made me feel like proud, kind of like, and I'm not comparing myself to Bruce Lee, but when I would learn about Bruce, that's what I loved about Bruce Lee because he talked about that's where he found his strength, his pride is that we have such a, and this is just one aspect of our culture where like that was what made him feel so proud that martial arts was a thing that we could not say ownership of, but to prove ourselves, you know, and not because of the fighting, but like it opened up my eyes that like, man, Chinese culture, my whole life I've been told was backwards, weird, different, because it wasn't accepted in like Western white predominant culture, right? Like, oh, you eat dogs, you eat whatever, right? Because now, and again, it's different. Now people are more accepting, not 100% well, but like it's different. It is. It's much different where like people are willing to like try like uni or, you know, balu or whatever and not think of you as a savage because you're not.
Right,
it's just different from what they know.
Going back to like the whole internet
Yeah, like
thing.
fucking sriracha, bro. Like I remember having that shit in my fridge as a kid and be like, oh, you eat cock sauce? Like, and now I can't get you to fucking stop talking about sriracha.
Right, these
know?
white people, yeah.
And Kung Fu was and you know, for a lot of people, stereotypical, right? Where they do the whole like crane kick thing.
Yeah, they're like,
But that was the first time in my life I was like, fuck it. I don't care. I like this. I love this. I don't give a shit what you think.
Wow.
You know, and that, you know, gave me my balls back, right?
Right.
And so that's the start. And luckily for me, you know, I met some good people there and they helped develop, you know, like give me that pride, give me that confidence, you know?
Were all the Asian people of Dallas in that school? Or?
The funny thing, no. I mean, there wasn't that many. There wasn't, I mean, our teacher was Chinese, but not really. I mean, a lot of people were white people. Like,
cool.
Sif Adam, he was a right guy. He was really good to me. Like, he would always watch out for me. I remember he gave me rights. Just, like, he picked me up from high school one time. Like, he had a Subaru, so I looked like a badass. You know?
Oh, nice.
Yeah, he was a good guy, and most of them were white people. And there also was a fair share of weird, creepy white people with, like, the Asian fetish, you know? Point is, it was my community. It was my fucking tribe, you know?
Did your sister keep up with it, too? Or?
She still trains, but that's what I have to appreciate about her is, like, I think the dynamics are also different because sometimes if you were with someone who's really hardcore into it, it keeps you there more. But the fact that she wasn't, but was supportive of me and like my dad, I think my dad loved it too because he's like a historian. He loves culture. He's talented. He loves history, and so does my mom. That I think that's why they liked it. Was like, hey, one, it got me in shape. Two, it man, I wish I was still in that shape. I'm fat as shit now. But that two, the second one was like, it taught me about my culture. It made me want to learn more about it because before, like, look, I think a lot of kids, especially not growing up here in the Bay or New York where like the culture is more strong, like you don't want to be that, not because it's bad, it's hard. I hate saying it now because then people think like you're taking some sort of stance against. No, it's just when you're made to feel like a second class citizen, and again, that's another conversation. You're like, oh, you were made, you didn't make a choice, like some fucking Kanye, like, you know what he's been saying lately, right? Like his whole like slavery is a choice shit. Like that's not. Oh shit, you didn't know about that?
Well, anyways,
we'll have Kanye on the podcast. I'm not. Let's get started. I'm not saying that Kanye said that, but I'm saying there's just such a weird, I think, like zeitgeist idea these days where like racism is a choice. It's not, bro. Like or the effects of it. Yes and no, but like I get what they're saying. It's like sometimes when people affect you to a certain way, you can only at a certain point. You're triggered by it based on how you're reacting, right? Yeah. But at the same time, there's something very real about like when you are not the majority of things and people are telling you and like trying to change you, especially at that age. Like we're grown men now. If someone wants to try to change me and it's not something that I want to do or it's for the worst, I can see it. I can understand it. Yeah. When you're a kid, you don't. And that's, I think, what most people don't realize, like when we talk about these things, right? Yeah. And so when I was a kid, man, yeah, like I had plenty of people tell me like, you know, oh yeah, like Chinese shit's backwards, or like you're eating, you know, like, so what do you want to do?
Yeah.
You want to fit in, right?
Yeah.
Don't get me wrong, I wasn't like some sellout. I wasn't like bleaching my skin, getting eyelid surgery or some shit like that. But it did make me want to like act more American. Also being second generation, you know?
Yeah.
We want to, like, we are the ones who have to prove this shit, you know?
Like, we're really American. Yeah.
It's
We're
generational too, you know?
Sure.
So yeah, like Kung Fu was the thing that like both figuratively and literally taught me to fight back.
Ah.
Where I was like, it's okay. Not okay, like I shouldn't have to qualify that. It's like, it's badass to be proud that I do Kung Fu, that I do these like great, like I can do a spin kick or whatever, right? 'Cause it is, it's fun.
It's fun, yeah.
And I shouldn't be made to feel like an ass. Like, that's why I think it's always so funny when people make fun of Asian people for doing martial arts. Like, when a non-Asian person does like, wow, you are very cultured and you know how to kick some ass. But when an Asian does it, it's like comical. Like, no, this guy can maybe kick your ass, you know? Like,
yeah.
But anyway, so that's, and then that just led to me to be proud of it, to kind of embrace it, to kind of find that balance where like.
So you had more confidence in high school,
Yeah.
it seems.
And then that's what carried, because then that's what got me into being more like, you know, like open to being like in performing stuff. Like,
Great,
you know?
okay.
And
When
I-
did
and
that
Shaolin.
start, actually? I'm kind of
Man,
curious.
that's the other thing, was Kung Fu. What
Did
got
it start with Kung So
Yeah.
So the first, I guess, taste of performance, you probably performed as
the demo team, yeah, just like a lot of like. Well, I mean, I had done little like little plays, or I was. I can say there's a lot of confidence. Miss Samuelson's third grade play, I was the critically acclaimed hyena number 20. I probably my best.
Best work so far.
The whole play was a knockoff of The Lion King, but that was really big back then, and
Copyright infringement,
yeah.
man.
hyena number 7, but or whatever it was. But I've always been a ham. Obviously, I'm talking a majority of this podcast. Everybody hates me now, so but like I got the gift of gab, gift of jab. What can I say? But I like to perform.
Good.
And I think martial arts was that extension, and that's what I still love. But like doing the demos, you know, whether it was lion dance, whether it was performance,
Yeah.
that's what got me, and that's what made me like. In junior high, it's just tough. Like I did, you know, talent shows, whatever. But when I went to high school, I went to performing arts high school.
Oh wow.
Yeah, and
in Dallas, huh?
yeah, so it was really cool because it's a not even like there's like a really there's another really good private school that like it's hard to get into, but the one that I went to was like the public school. You had to try out and stuff, but it was cool because you could basically major while you're in high school. So they have like a theater program, a law program, like a doctor program, or a medical. I think an engineer, like, and they also have like an RTF, like a TV production one, right?
Oh wow.
So you go to school like regular, you know, school, but you also have like a concentration. So mine was theater, right, like performing.
Oh cool.
And that's what I don't think I would have had the balls because I didn't know anything about like doing a monologue or whatever as a kid. And,
Yeah.
But that's what got me into it. And also back then, like, I think it taught me, it gave me that little chip on my shoulder, like I'm gonna prove you wrong. You know, like I want to represent. Like my little whatever journey was like trying to represent what I didn't see growing up. You know? Maybe that's like a very like illusions of grandeur, but to this day I still feel like every commercial I've been in, every modeling thing that I did, every basic cable TV movie that had a small role or whatever.
Yeah. Jurassic Games, check it out.
Oh yeah. We'll talk about that. We gotta plug that. But those were those things that I had hoped people could like. Maybe there's some fucking kid out there who saw it, because I'm sure you did this too. Like when we'd watch TV and you'd see like a glimpse of an age, like, oh, who's that? Rewind that shit, pause it, yeah.
American Girl. Yeah. Oh, this show's okay.
Yeah, and so yeah, that's what got in. So my high school, I you know, it's funny. The reason I mentioned earlier why it's weird to brag is I kind of felt like a loner. I didn't really think I was like really anybody in high school. People knew me because my name is fucking Tiger.
Yeah.
You wouldn't believe it now, but I had long hair down to my fucking ass.
Wow.
You know, I was like that was at the height of my like metrosexual like pretty boy look, whatever shit.
Okay.
And so you just stick out. You know, you just stick out, right? And I was flamboyantly awesome.
Did you ever see that Details magazine? It says
Yeah,
Asian or
fuck
gay.
that guy,
Fuck
yeah.
that shit, dude. That was during high
That's
school.
offensive to Asians and to gay people. Like
I was
double
like,
whammy. Yeah.
I was like, wait, I didn't understand. I was like, what the fuck?
I did a whole college report on that, man.
Oh really? Yeah. I was just like Asian or gay. I'm like, what the?
Why does
fuck?
it have to be either? You know, like why can't you just have a satchel?
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember like they fucking there's like a diagram of like what like.
I looked at that. I was just like, I was just flabbergasted.
And people
I was
don't
so
get to that's like. They're like, oh, that was so long ago. Yeah, that was like maybe 10 years ago, but the fact that that shit happened at any point in the 2000s is like, what the fuck, right?
Yeah, what the fuck?
But anyway, so like high school, so I'll finish this up real quick. Yeah, I had my little niche where people knew me, obviously, because of my name or whatever. I didn't have like a whole bunch of people, but
You weren't a theater like were you the theater geek?
nah, man. I mean, I was a theater kid, but I wasn't like wearing all black with a beret, like.
Oh, because you played one, I think, in Acceptance or something.
Yeah.
Anyways.
Latino, but yeah, I mean, I wasn't your stereotypical theater person, but and I'll be honest, like that's the other thing is like I did it because like a lot of people want to feel like accepted with the freaks and geeks kind of thing. I've always felt like I was more of a freaks
good
and
show,
geeks.
by the way.
Yeah. Freak geek, maybe
All
like
white
punk
people, though,
rock
but
kind of
whatever.
person, you know. But
Yeah.
I didn't feel fit in there either because when I was a kid, doing theater too was like everyone want to fucking do what's it? Ah, fuck, why does it blame me? I curse so much. What's that? Daniel Day-Lewis was in the movie adaptation. The play about the Salem witch trials.
Crucible.
Yeah.
Was Winona Ryder in that?
I think so.
What a cutie.
But I just remember everybody wanted to do Crucible, right?
Yeah.
Like in high school. And, you know, and when you're in high school, you don't realize like you're just a bunch of dumbass kids. But like, because you know, you have the older kids who they look like adults to you at that point, right? Like chain smoking when no one's looking.
Oh gosh.
I didn't smoke, but keep your lungs clean, kids. But it was like a lot of those, and I remember like someone even told me it was a parent. We did Guys and Dolls. I was Angie the Ox, right? I can't sing a note to save my life, but I was Angie the Ox. I had one line, and it was a big deal as a freshman, right? Or whatever I was, sophomore.
Yeah.
And I said to him, like, hey, you know, like, Guy Masterson's in town, or just some shit like that, some shitty Chicago accent.
Yeah.
And I was so proud of myself. My mom didn't even go see my play. Like, my parents, like, that's the thing about Asian people. Like, they don't, it's not that they don't support you, but they don't, you know what I mean? Like, it's not the same as like white kids where their parents will, you know.
I think they went to one of my plays.
Were you a high school theater kid?
We didn't have a theater track. We only had theater plays, and that was like the only way to get my theater, my performance.
What plays did you do?
I was in The Matchmaker, and I was in The Cuckoo's Nest.
Oh, okay. Who were you in The Cuckoo's Nest?
I was Scantron, the guy with the toolbox.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, he's like, this is my toolbox, you know.
I was hoping you were like, what is his name? Indian Joe? Was that?
I wasn't that big.
Was that his name?
Yeah, Indian Joe. We had.
Can we even call him that anymore? Is it like Native American Joe?
We had a guy. Oh shit! I still remember. Like we had a dude. He was like, I think Filipino or Samoan, but he was like a big, big dude, and fucking he fit Indian Joe perfect. I remember. I love doing that play. Yeah. But yeah, sorry.
No. I just interested about Indian Joe. So yeah, like I was in Guys and Dolls, and this parent walked up to me, right? And honestly, that parent it surprised me. They were pretty like liberal, open-minded, and like, oh, you know, we really liked the performance, but like Tiger, like you did a good job, but like it was hard to believe that an Asian person would be allowed to say those things back then.
And this was before Hamilton, I guess.
Yeah. And to be fair, I get what she was saying, but again, what it was like we just watched a fucking play where a bunch of high school kids played like, you know, like gangsters and whatever. And you know, and people who know the play, like, was it Nicely? He's like a 300-pound guy who can sing and dance and whatever, right?
Yeah.
Well, some kid was wearing a fat suit playing it, and so like I'm sitting there thinking like, okay, so your issue with this play was that what took you out of it was that there was a person of color in it, right? Like,
oh wait, as a high school, you thought this?
No, she like this is what she was basically relating to.
Okay.
Like she like, cause she was telling me like, oh yeah, like it was just weird seeing a Chinese person being in that. I'm like, you talk about like colorblind casting or whatever, like, because my school is kind of one of those like hippy dippy schools, right?
That's cool.
And you can suspend the suspense or suspense or whatever of disbelief, right? That some 16-year-old kid can be in a fat suit and play an adult and sing and dance. Like, you know, like a 400-pound man can be this triple threat, but an Asian person says one line and it took you out of the whole play, right? And I think that's why I always gravitated more and more, because I was like, fuck that, like, no, like, stop.
Because, you know, fuck that shit, dude.
But yeah, so I did that shit, and I was class president my senior year because I just chip on my shoulder because every year the people who were running were the same people, right? Like the plastics or whatever, right? And my cabinet, they were awesome. But I mean, no, they were awesome. They're
awesome,
all
white people, I guess.
Yeah, and this one girl, I felt so, because when I look back on it now, man, I should just give it to her, but fuck that. She was like class president since she was like a kid. Her sister was, her mom, but like it's in her family, right?
This sounds like a movie.
Well, and then the day I decided to run was like literally like senior year. Like she'd been president every year except for that. And I was a dick. Like I wrote these, like, again, if you look at how I did it now, it's terrible. But okay, it's too much. Like, it's hard to describe. But maybe if we were on video, but anyway, I made these signs. Her name was, oh gosh, I don't think I should say her name, but her last name was. Can I say that? Is that weird?
I mean, it's maybe up to her. It's
okay,
up
yeah,
to you.
I won't say it. But I made like little puns, like little about her name, about, you know, don't let this tiger get whatever, blah blah, and I remember because here's the benefit of like being a freaking geek is we got to give these speeches, right?
Yeah.
In front of the school and on our local TV station, right? Our
Yeah.
local school station, right?
Right.
And I got good with the kids who did the RV stuff or AV stuff, right?
Yeah.
And so she just gave like a pretty standard good speech, and I got up there, I was like, hey, like how crazy can I get? Like, what do you mean? Like, there's like a green screen here. Like, yeah. It's like, could you like make a green screen of like a tiger face? And because I mean, what limited technology I knew, I was going to hold the green screen, so there'd be a tiger, and all you see is like a CGI tiger, and then I drop it, and then I appear. I even put her name on a board, like a wooden board, because like my platform was like I can do kung fu, right?
Yeah.
I broke the board with her name on it. Like I made like an effigy of her, like roundhouse kicked it,
Oh
which
my-
is all terrible. Like right, like when I say this out now, like oh, but at the time, like it wasn't like I was trying to like promote. Women
This is
beating-
like fucking Cobra Kai. I kicked the competition.
Yeah, but I think, but the reason any of that mattered is because I think people finally saw that like it wasn't business as usual, and that someone like actually cares. I was really passionate about it, right? And to be fair, I was the worst president. I took them through Pizzagate. Wait, that's I don't mean to make fun of the actual Pizzagate. The other Pizzagate. I derided funds for prom to other things that were. No, I'm just joking. I was the most corrupt president RHS has ever. No.
Whoa.
I'm just joking. But.
Yeah.
She should have been president because she probably like because you planned prom, right, and all that
Yeah.
shit. And I mean, I did an okay job of it, but it was like not. She would have probably done better, to be honest.
Okay.
But that was those little things, and I think martial arts to tie this all shit together. Martial arts. If I didn't have that, I wouldn't have gone there. I wouldn't have gone to performing arts school. I wouldn't have the balls to have tried to buck the system or whatever, right?
Right.
I wouldn't have balls to have gotten an agent to be in a, to do this, to have these dreams. Like as an adult, right? As we get older, we start, I think, finding ways of talking ourselves out of doing our passions versus when you're a kid. You always find ways to talk yourself into doing them. Because it's like you have nothing to lose, right?
Okay.
And I don't know, maybe this is something youthful. It's like Rocky. Remember Rocky 3?
Yeah.
Where he's like running on the beach. He's like,
Yeah.
Rocky, what's wrong? Like, that's what you lose. Like, you the baby. That's my Stallone. But, and I don't know. I'm not saying like fucking Stallone or whatever, like
Right.
Rocky, but like as I get older, like you start thinking more about risks and whether you want to take them or not, right?
Okay, yeah.
Whereas when you're younger, it's like, I don't give a fuck. Let's do this shit,
Right.
So-
Because I think as we're older, I know it's in my head, but I feel like sometimes time is slipping away, right?
Yeah.
We're not going to
Because
be
we're
as
young.
like-
I mean, we're relatively we're still very
young.
young in the big scheme of things, but like, dude, we're not some 20-year-old kid who can keep making stupid mistakes,
Right.
Not that I'm saying you are or we are, but yeah.
But like, and it's there's also this thing about go for it.
Do you want it?
Okay, so, oh yeah, I got it.
I'm doing a very Asian thing right now.
He's
I'm
giving me water right now.
like
I
it's
mean,
tea.
I'm sorry. Did you want to record video or no? You're cool with just.
Oh, I'm cool. I'm
Yeah,
ugly
yeah,
as shit right now. I'm tired.
Okay.
Yeah.
What I was gonna say, white girls.
Nice transition.
So I'm guessing your ex-girlfriends are all white girls? Or?
Okay, well, let's back the train up. Why do you assume, sir? What about me says I got a taste for the white ladies?
Well, I'm just thinking of your demographic, like in your performing arts school. Like, sorry, the sound's gonna sound weird for a second.
Oh, you're fine.
Fixing the, let's see here. But
This isn't live though, right? Like people.
no,
are listening.
I'm gonna edit this. Yeah. So, going back to so as far as the racial demographic of your high school and stuff, when did you start? Like, was your household like, oh, you can't start dating until college, or they were pretty like whatever?
I don't think they fucking give a shit. I'll be honest, and again, not to throw my sister under the bus, but like she was just doing so much crazy shit back then that like my parents were like, look, just make sure you don't get anybody pregnant.
Yeah,
don't get like a drug habit, and don't die.
Yeah.
you know?
Okay.
But I'm a goody two shoes. I mean, I have like a little whatever streak in me, but anyway. But yeah, no. You know what's funny? I did not have helicopter parents, and that's another. And maybe that's another topic for another day. But I think there is a big difference, like especially growing up in Texas. Why it was kind of like my parents worked a lot. They weren't around a lot to like take care of us. And I don't say this in any bad way. It's just I was
you have abandonment issues.
Yeah, I do. I'm a latchkey kid, right? Like, and so is my sister. But like, they never censored us, and in many regards, like I'm so thankful for it. But in some regards, I'm like I kind of wish my parents pulled the reins in on me a little bit, right?
Yeah,
and they weren't bad parents, but again, it's just different. But like, if we're talking about Asian parents, right?
Yeah.
Some parents, man, I think do it to a crippling state.
It's like crazy.
Where their kids are like socially inept, right?
Right.
They don't know, and it sucks. I'm not making fun of them, but you see it. And I think in Texas, more of the Asian families that I saw were like that. Their kids kind of grew up like automatons, no personality, and the ironies are probably very successful with these awesome jobs and making, you know what I'm saying?
But I've met some of them, and
but are they happy?
Are they happy?
Right? Yeah, but again, that's me judging. That's
judgmental.
Yeah, that's me projecting shit. But I say that because it's universal, right? It's not just a white, Asian, whatever, black thing. It can happen, right? But what I will say about it was because my parents were a little less like strict. I mean, like, look, they laid down the law when it needed to be, but like, I didn't have as many issues there. Because you know, it's like the classic things. Like you look at like a lot of like overly religious families, like sometimes they like talk about Mormons, right? When you have those like super strict code of law, they end up doing porn or some shit like that because like, you know, and I think it's just the extremes. It's just extremes,
right. Like there, I mean, we're here in the valley, and there's a lot of porn.
And there's some families where they're too open, and then those kids become very conservative because you want to be what you're not. You know what I mean? Like
it's an interesting pendulum swing, right? Yeah.
And my parents were very open, and I have great ability to talk to my parents. Not perfect, but great. And they were also very...
You spoke to English with them or Chinese or mixed?
A little bit of both.
A little bit of both, okay. But both of their language abilities
Speaking of which, you made a really good short film that kind of delves with that I want to kind of talk
shout
about.
Out, yeah.
Shout out, yeah. But why I say all that shit is because, you know, when I was growing up, when you asked about, like, oh, what are you dating, whatever, like...
Yeah, how's the dating scene,
They didn't limit me, so I just kind of figured this shit out as I got older. Like, you know what I mean? Like, that's what I'm saying. Like, when you say, like, oh, you know, when were you allowed... My parents... didn't allow me to do anything and not disallow me to do anything, if that makes sense. Like, I didn't, like, you know what I mean? Like, I obviously need their approval on some stuff, but, like, my parents have always been the type where, like, you make your own decisions, your own choices.
Yeah.
But at the same time, like, you have that Asian shadow of, like, you're crippled because you're like, I don't want to disappoint, you know what I mean? So,
yes.
So, I think mine was much different. Like, I feel like I just started dating, it just happened naturally.
Oh, cool.
No one had to tell me.
Yeah.
I just knew, like, you know, like I had a girlfriend probably when I was like 12 or 13, but it was nothing like, it wasn't like a serious girlfriend, right? It was like your first kiss kind of girlfriend, like holding hands. Oh,
cool, nice.
And then high school, of course. But okay, so going back to the dating thing, like, yeah.
Were you a popular guy?
That's such a loaded question.
I only had one girlfriend in high school.
I think I was a memorable guy, if that makes sense.
But like, as far as... Sorry, so, okay.
Wait, what do you mean popular? Like, do you mean like popular in school or like...
Did you have a lot of girlfriends in high school? Yeah, I guess.
Oh, man, that's so incriminating. No, I mean, honestly, not really. I mean, like, I had experiences, right? Like, that's the thing, like, and this is another thing, like, when we talk about children, like, I can't complain that I was, like, the lovelorn Asian... You know, like
you weren't long duck dong, I guess.
Yeah, and that's why I feel bad because I don't want to make fun of anybody for that because like that's gotta suck.
Yeah.
But I'm not gonna sit here and pretend I was some like Lothario or like, you know, Casanova. I just feel like I had a very like quintessential normal way of like dating someone in high school and then
cool.
Like,
did you have like your first love and stuff?
And then you know we broke up and it was so dramatic and we got back together and then I did, you know, like I dated this girl and then like I talked to her best, you know, like all that stuff and then at the end of the day, none of it fucking mattered. Then you go to college, and who the fuck cares, right?
Right.
College is a little different story. College is a lot of fun.
Okay.
That's very incriminating.
We can get into that.
But yeah, high school. Yeah, you're right. I dated a white girl. My first love. But again, I'm not. It's weird. I don't say any. Like looking back, I don't think it was really a race thing. Like being Asian as an Asian male, there definitely is something that I don't think is talked about a lot. Is that like you are like what do they say? Like Asian males and black women are like the two most single type demographics, right?
They're the lowest tier in online dating statistics currently. Yeah, but those could be indicative of social norms.
And let's be clear, we're not saying that. We're not making a judgment. Like I don't see race when I date people. Like I just feel like if you get along with someone, you're attracted to them.
Yeah.
Asian, black, white, whatever. Like that's all that matters.
I totally feel you.
It just matters the personality, like how you jive, right? Because look, there's been plenty of girls that I've been with that. Oh god, that sounds terrible. No, I mean, well, you get what I'm saying. Like girls that maybe I didn't think I would be attracted to them, but their personality was fucking amazing.
Oh, okay.
And then you know, and then people that I was like, man, I think this person and I would get along together great, and they're like, wow, that sucked. Their personality sucks.
Yeah.
And I'm sure same with me. I'm sure people said the same thing about me, like, oh, I thought, you know, but anyway. But yeah, my first girlfriend was white. My first couple, actually, no, I'm trying to think back. My first, and if we go like junior high, I think she's Vietnamese, and then it was a white girl, then it was. Some other white. I don't know. It's well, this is like 20 years ago at this point.
Yeah,
Right? I'm trying to
yeah,
figure
yeah,
it, but no, she was white. I won't say her name because again, keep the innocence or whatever.
Guidelines.
But she's cool. I mean, we had her typical like figuring shit out, like you know, making out behind the whatever school or whatever and doing other things. But I mean, that just trying to be so creepy. But yeah, man. Yeah.
I mean, was there any sort of racial issues at all? I guess is kind of maybe what I'm kind of.
There was, but I think it's like innocent racial stuff. If anything, it's harder now when you're because like look, what was there? Like look, we had most people probably like us against the world, right? Like, but we were just two dumb kids who were in like love for the first time.
And her parents didn't mind?
I think her brother actually married like a Chinese girl.
Uh-huh.
And it's funny, she had a twin brother who actually kind of like an Asian fetish, so it wasn't like... But yeah, there was some weird stuff, but again, like it's the type of situation where whether or not any of that was involved at that time, end of the day, it was just, I think it came down to personality. But I'm not being dismissive of the fact that it can be very much involved.
Okay.
I would say this, like the women that I've dated, like really, like, you know, spent time that had long impact in my life. Yeah. There wasn't as much, but the thing is, I don't think I would have been with somebody that I would have been, right? Does that make sense?
Explain.
Like,
I'm curious.
I just couldn't see myself being with someone who my race or their race would be an issue. Does that make sense?
That does make sense.
Like, it's like a certain type of thinking, you know?
Right.
And
I mean, sorry to interject, but like something I've been thinking about lately is like, sure, a lot of Asian guys play the victim, say, woe is me, I'm an Asian guy, I'm emasculated in the industry or blah blah blah. But
I've been to that. I still struggle with that.
Yeah. But I think there is a certain level of like, no matter what race or no matter what country you live in. I've been listening to a lot of Jack Ma recently, the entrepreneur, Jack Ma, Alibaba guy. But like, he's basically saying that no matter what generation, age, race you are, you're gonna have your card, your deck stacked against you. You're gonna have your issues regardless. So what can you do? You can change yourself, how you interact with these issues or these obstacles. And something, I mean, just recently, I've got some girls' numbers recently. I was just like, whoa. and
wait, it's gotta be louder then. Wait, no, come on, third time. There you go. That's high five, baby.
High five, yeah. I could use that for the sync, but yeah. Basically, it was just like if you have that victim mentality, it's really like it permeates your energy and how you interact with people. So what was I trying to say? Okay, one thing I think needs to be talked about in like as far as the shit, I lost my train of thought.
Man, you're just too busy thinking about all those girls you've been macking on.
Yeah. I think what I'm trying to say is that as Asian American males, you know, there are things that are stacked against us, but you know what? Like, dude, like now with K-pop and a lot of these other things, there is, and now there's this like weird thing. Like, there's this white girl who dated me that had an Asian fetish for Asian guys. I was just like, that's kind of weird.
I wish someone would fetishize me. I'm terrible. And again, I'm not trying to be dismissive about how the real creepy and terribleness and the political, but like, look, I'm a very facetious person, self-deprecating, and when I am serious, you know it. But when I'm not, I get scared because I don't want someone to get the wrong idea, right? But like, kind of to your point, I think, correct me if I'm wrong here. Kind of what I feel like what you're saying here is about like Asian males and whatnot is that like growing up, there's very real issues that these things create. Yeah. But there's also a certain point where you have to kind of be like, look, that's not what it fucking matters. I think every race, every gender, every whatever it is your hang up is or whatever your struggle is you realize there's a point, because what are we really arguing? We want is to be on some sort of even playing field of like equality, right? So like we have a clean slate that like you are judged by your personality, by the sum of the parts that you are, not just by one thing that fucks you over.
We want love.
We want love. And the sucky part about it is, and this is what I talk, you know, I've been talking to a lot of people about this lately, like I struggle between wanting to be the most triggered, delicate social justice warrior snowflake that enough is enough. Fuck that. Like, I'm not putting up with any more of this bullshit. Yeah. To also being like, yo, I'm a realist who realize not everything is a fucking issue of race, religion, gender, and I don't want to feel like an asshole for sounding dismissive because I'm not. I just mean more of like, not everything has to be a thing. Not everything has to be an uphill battle. And I think kind of like we talked about earlier, as we get older, gray. As we get older, balance. So as much as I support these great ideas and these great notions that like we need to make change, we need to make social changes and evolve from these backwards way of thinking to also, we also have to not lose sight of that, like sometimes going forward so quickly or doing something without thinking, we do stupid shit. We actually become what we don't want to be, which is like, you know what I mean? Like being the enforcer, like when the minority becomes a majority and then the majority starts, you know, what do you call it? Oppressing the minority that replace them, you know, like that kind of thing.
Right.
And so same thing as an Asian male. So there's days where like, yeah, I feel you, man. Like I would sit and get pissed off at like, I've had that too, where I was dating a white girl, and this was back in my kind of like modeling days. And again, this sounds like, oh, woe is me, whatever. But I remember she said something. She's like, man, like, you know, you're really attracted for an Asian guy, and like, wow, you're like, you redeem your race. And this was like mid coitus. Right? And I was like, I just didn't know what to do. Like, do I accept like an Academy Award? Like, thank you on behalf of, but like, dude, that's that's an insulting thing to say.
That's
like,
really insulting. Yeah.
Maybe if she just left it at the beginning and stopped. And I get what she meant.
Yeah.
Because maybe she'd never been with an Asian guy, but the fact that she said like, you've redeemed your race, like, oh, what? Like,
what
if I had said that to her or like to any other person of color, like, what the fuck? Like, that's clearly racist, misogynistic, whatever, right? Like, terrible thing.
I was with a Latina, and
I like that you added the accented A.
Yeah.
Who's the racist now?
And I was
James?
No joke. Like we were like making out, and she's like, "Dude, you Asian guys, you guys are undercover freaks." And I was like, "Fuck, I'll take that compliment," because like for her, she's like, "Oh, we're like, you know, tipping nice, but like once we get under the covers, dude, we some Asian guys can fucking like you know." And the thing is, we're just guys.
Yeah.
We're just guys.
Yeah.
And guess what? Some guys can they know how to like, you know, do it well in the under the sheets, and some don't. And that's guys.
Well, and that's what I think that's the bullshit of it. It's like, end of the day, like, yeah, look, I'm not saying stereotypes are real, but I understand where they come from. I understand there's, you know, like we joke about it. I'm not a believer of stereotypes. I won't want to reinforce them, but like, look, cultures have influences that change certain perceptions of this, that, whatever, right?
Sure.
I mean, it's just natural, like, and it's like nurture and nature kind of shit, right?
Yeah.
But I think a lot of us, like, we just want to be on this even playing field of, like, especially in America, right? I think why it's so hard here when we discuss is because America was born in these, supposedly, right, like, born in these principles of, like, we should not judge by the color of your skin, your creed, whatever, you know, but, like, just give us an even chance to be, we might be these things, let us prove you wrong. Not because, you know, we're trying to prove that what we're doing is right or wrong, but more of like, we should all be looked as equals, right? And
right, meritocracy. Yeah.
And in the dating realm, there's a lot of that. Like you were saying, like, sometimes I'm just like, look, man, I'm just some dude, like, that happens to be Asian.
Yes.
I would be lying and being disingenuous if I didn't say, like, yeah, the way that I am as a man has Asian influence. Like, I don't know, like, you know what I really fucking hate is when I hear people say, like, Asian men are like, because like, look, I get that there's that stereotype and where it comes from, but like that we're like women beaters, that we're like
those are just Korean men stereotypes.
Oh fuck, I'm not even, but you know what I'm saying, like there's that.
Well,
like,
I you know,
yeah, James
that's a
that's
stereotype.
I'm
just saying that's a
James.
stereotype. I'm not saying that's what I believe. That's just a stereotype.
But yeah, no, but these are real things. Some people don't hear about outside of like LA or whatever, but or even like, you know, some people still think like I want to like bind some woman's feet or something. You know what I mean? Like some crazy shit. Like I'm some sort of misogynist. You know, like
dude, and Asian women have their fucking they've got their uphill battle.
And
too,
the thing
for
that's
sure.
what I find so just strikingly odd about that.
Yeah,
I wasn't how I was raised, man, and I wasn't raised that way. Not just out of the fluke, but I had a strong Asian mom and I had a strong like sister who taught me to respect women.
Yeah.
Not because it's like it was forced, because like that's like, you know, the woman is the backbone of any family.
Fuck yeah.
Yeah, and not because it's like I'm sorry, like these bullshit misogynistic. But it's like my mom was a superwoman. My mom was my mom. She was my dad. My mom taught me how to be a man.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And so I think the dating realm is really kind of sketched by that, because like you're either seen as like some lowly like incel, dickless, you know. What's the lowest Greek alphabet letter? I don't know, like non-alpha male.
Beta, yes.
I think beta's. I'm a strong beta. I will say I might not be alpha, but I'm a wiry beta. But like, I don't omega or whatever, right? Or you're like this horrible, like backwards, you know, Fu Manchu, terrible person to women, right?
Right, sure.
And the thing that's fucked up about it is like, look, let's just be very honest here. There are people who are like that from both of those extremes.
Of course.
But it's not because they're fucking Asian.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know, maybe, but like, there's also white people who are like that.
Yes.
XYZ gender, or whatever race, like that, right?
Right.
And I think that's the thing that I find just most fucking alarming is that to this day, so generally, look, progress takes a while. But.
Right. And the thing is about this is that it's not mutually exclusive in the sense that, oh, you can't, like, this is where I think there's a conundrum. Where there's people who are self-loathing Asians. They don't want to be Asian. They want to be as white as possible. A lot of Asian actors, for economic reasons, change their last name. Yeah. I know one guy from I did some theater in college, and he changed his last name.
So I can't do that. Do you know why? If I change my name to like Tiger Fitzpatrick, it's just it causes more problems, you know. Like
right. But anyways, one thing I want to circle back to is, sorry, I got the point now. Like Jack Ma was saying that, sure, there's all these issues, right? But what can you really change? Can you change the world? Can you change other people? If your purpose in life is trying to change other people, you have it backwards. You're putting, you should change yourself first.
Yeah.
Okay. 你要改变自己才能改变世界, right? Yeah. So like, because if you can
Chinese way of thinking.
Yeah, and then kind of like what Gandhi said, be the change you want to see in the world, and that's something.
Even Gandhi was kind of a.
What?
Gandhi, he got some. Anyway.
There were some. He did some controversial stuff, like I guess like with the girls in the bed, like try to test himself, I guess. But you guys can Google that or whatever. But anyways, I think that I accept this struggle, whatever struggle, like. Or this perceived struggle, or no, this is a real struggle. It's known, like in the Asian male heterosexual community of like this emasculation. You know what? Fuck it. I take on that struggle, and real talk. You can probably maybe be able to speak to this, but I lived in Taiwan for a couple years, and I was just like, whoa, this is what a white guy feels like, kind of sometimes. Because as an Asian, well, a little different because I'm an ABC, right, or ABT.
Real quick, do people call us ABT?
No, ABC is the common thing.
Right?
Yeah,
I'm just,
Yeah, but,
Someone got mad at me one time for not saying, not AB, but something like that, because I just was, but what's weird is like, Taiwanese people call me ABT, I'm like, or ABC, I'm like, I don't know the terms. From a different generation.
It's a more commonly used phrase, ABC. American-born Chinese for our listeners who don't know. But, I was just like, whoa, like, I could get chicks, like, because they're like, oh, you're ABC, that's kind of, and then, or I could kind of like, once my Chinese got better, the second year I was living there, they were like, oh, are you,
How long did you live in Taiwan?
I lived in Taiwan for 2 years only, so,
okay.
But that was,
Taipei?
Taipei, yeah. But I was just like, this is a really interesting. And then I remember on my second year that I did some acting there too, and there people were like trying to like get me into roles and stuff. But I kind of was.
Then why the fuck are you here?
Why
the fuck are you here toiling with some dumbass like me on?
No. It's kind of like because you're thinking about going to Beijing, right? So we can talk. Yeah. Well, I don't know, but we can cut that out. But I was just like, whoa, this is kind of interesting. This feeling of like, this perceived idea that somehow you have something that you have some sort of responsibility. Whereas in America, I feel this is a feeling. I don't know how real it is, but there's this feeling like I have to fight to like prove myself, right? Whereas in Taiwan or something, it's like, oh wait, there's still that struggle. No joke. There's a lot of ABC actors now, especially, but I felt that there was a certain like kind of niche that I could play up, or this kind of I want maybe exoticism a little bit, like as the ABC, or this perceived notion that you ever get this idea of like, oh, because like white men, I think there's an article I read, but like white men are like perceived as being more executive or being more leadership material. And I got that feeling a little bit.
I'm sorry. Yeah. Sounding like you're the majority, not the minority.
You're the majority. Yeah. And I just like, well, it's interesting, but. Anyways, I came back home.
I had the opposite.
Yeah.
I go to Asia and they're just like, yeah, you don't fit in. You're loud,
and I got
American.
that too. I got that too. Yeah.
Your feet are too big for all of our shoes.
I remember your
Chinese is terrible. You sound like
that's if your Chinese is terrible, they can feel it.
But I know I get what you're saying.
I've had that experience too, where like James, you take up a lot of space. I'm like, what? I'm just
You're
sitting.
tall, man. You're like
No,
6
no,
foot,
I'm
man.
like sitting.
You're like 6 foot, 6'1", right?
No, I'm 5'10", 5'11".
Really?
Yeah,
Why
yeah,
you
yeah.
just have better posture than me? Well, you look so much taller than me. Like, you're so svelte, man. You're so ripped.
Thank you. It's well, I mean, we should wrap it up. It's getting a little bit late,
sure,
but yeah. So sorry, I had my co-host had a bunch of questions.
Oh no, man, I'll be back. Don't worry.
Yeah. We can do this again.
I mean, I'll be honest. Probably the first part of it was pretty rambling and weird, but I think we got something in the middle.
I think with any ramble, there's nuggets of good stuff.
I just don't want to dominate the conversation.
No, you're here to dominate. Okay,
no.
you are here to dominate. Very quickly, let's do a martial arts corner. Yay!
Okay.
Quick questions from my co-host who could not be here, Daniel Yin. He asks, don't know if it's true, but I heard there are 3 schools around Shaolin. Is that true? Is there 3 schools of Shaolin?
Oh, fuck. Well, I mean, I'd kind of ask what he means. Like, if I'm understanding, because like it's kind of weird.
There's a
like,
northern style.
Yeah, there's northern, there's southern, and then there's like internal, external, and there's family.
Yeah, there's Udang style, but that's not Shaolin.
No, Wudang's definitely not. That's what
Udang is its own thing.
When he says 3, it's more of like, I'm not trying to dance around the question because maybe I don't know it, but I think I would need some elaboration on what exactly means 3. Because of course there's northern style, which is the predominant, like long fist, and there's southern style. And then, of course, there's internal, external, right? But I'm trying to think of what he means by the 3rd style. Or a 3rd school.
I mean, okay, like, if I understand correctly, there's Fosan, right? Fosan is very famous for its martial arts. There's also, like, basically, from Shaolin, what I understand is, like, the Shaolin Temple was destroyed, and there was the 5 that escaped, I believe. There's the Yongchun, like, the people who did Wing Chun that escaped. And then there's there's Pai Mei, the Bak Mei. Yeah. Anyways, let's move on to the next question.
I'll say real quick this.
Yeah.
And I don't want to sound disrespectful, whatever. Again, I think some people can, like that, why Edmund and I became friends. Like, look, I used to know all this shit like the back of my hand.
Yeah.
But as I got older, these things become so, gosh, I feel like so 2018 to say, like tribal, or like so like, I don't know, within their own clique. Like there's history of it. And I don't want to be like fake news, but like, there's not this governing body necessarily outside of like China, right? Like you can like major in like Wushu in like a Beijing university, right?
Sure.
But I mean, like a lot of these kind of facts and stuff that we knew as a kid that I was spoon fed, right? From like my teachers, there's bias.
Oh, sure.
Yeah, I mean, and again, not
there's
like
politics. Too.
Yeah, there's politics. So whenever I say this stuff, I get nervous about giving the wrong information because I felt like I was spoon fed a lot of thoughts of stuff that I thought was my own opinions until when you look into it, you're like, oh. That kind of like there's truths there, but it's like half truths.
Okay.
There's so the Shaolin thing. The reason I say is because look, where do you want to start? Do you want to talk about the traditional stuff that's there, or do we want to talk about the Shaolin that actually exists now, and then all that? So like
You trained at the Shaolin school.
No, I didn't.
You did,
I did Shaolin. Well, I mean, I've been there. I did some stuff, but I wouldn't say like I trained. You know what I mean? Like I don't claim to be like a descendant of the Shaolin Temple. I did Wushu.
Right. You did Wushu with Jet Li's.
Wu Bin. So that was I went to the Beijing Wushu team for a little bit. The first place I trained was the Songjiang Wushu Shue. So if you know like the Water Margin, like the Outlaws of the Marsh,
Okay.
But I didn't train with them. They've been dead for whatever, right? Like
you trained with the ghosts.
Well, there's a school there that was created in that area. I actually think it's not even in the because this was a long time ago, right? It was like another life ago. Because I mean, honestly, I don't keep up with this as I used to. But the school was built there, and part of it was like tourists, but like they kept it there because supposedly it's like that region of where that was happening. So I think they told me it was like right where it was, but it might have been like 20 miles away or 30, whatever the case is, right?
Okay.
But that's just what happened with China. There's a cultural revolution. So many things change.
So many things.
It's like you go to like you go to the Sphinx, right?
Yeah.
Or like or the pyramids, right?
Yeah.
But it's not necessarily like the pyramids and stuff are where they're at. But you get what I'm saying, like. So I think that's the tough part about a lot of these things about history of. Well, we love Chinese martial arts is because so many people speak from authority and we accept it because he's a black belt. But then when you really kind of peel the layers, like, well, he's not like he's not a historian.
Yeah.
He's not like unless he's got some secret scrolls, which they don't like. So maybe like now when I hear
shout out to Kung Fu Panda.
Yeah, but you know what I'm saying? Like it's like
yeah.
that's why I err on the side of caution about talking about it now. Not because I care about offending people, but It's just I don't want to give disinformation.
Let's move on to the next question. Is there sparring in the style that you study, the northern style in the Shaolin? Yeah.
We see again, loaded question. There is. First off, I don't want to like be conflicted.
Like, is it
but,
like sanda?
But I just think I'll be honest, Daniel. Why are you asking me these questions? That's a weird question. Why wouldn't there be? Right? There is. And I'm not defensive. I just mean
it's because he comes from a Choi Foot background, and also he just a little bit about Daniel. He can back up his shit. I've seen him fight. I've sparred him a little bit, and like so he can back it up. But also, there's a lot of like, there's some styles out there that say, "Oh, we don't spar because our style's too deadly." Or
yeah,
whatever.
I don't believe any of that shit.
Yeah, fuck that shit. Yeah.
I mean, in our school we did, but also like we're in America, so we did like point fighting. And we had like some Sanchow guys back in the day, but that's maybe a time for another podcast. But again. Okay. Someone who's transitioned to like actually like going to a boxing gym, training in an MMA gym, training in a real Muay Thai gym. And when I say real, I'm not saying there's good or bad. I mean like training at a gym where there's guys who are actually competing, who are fighting professionally. Professionally is, I think, pretty key.
Yeah.
Doesn't mean you don't know what you're doing, but there's just a different energy. It's like going to a gym that has a guy who's in the UFC or Glory Kickboxing or whatever. There's a different pace. And I'm so sorry to say this.
Yeah.
People want to believe like, oh, there's some guy training on a mountain and there's some real dude out there that is like so. That the only person that was ever that was Fedor. And come at me, MMA nerds, but that was him. This notion that there's somebody out in the world that we haven't discovered who's training on the Wudang Mountain, no, I'm sorry, doesn't exist. And if it does, well, why does it matter? Because we don't know that he exists or she or whatever.
Yeah, yeah.
So when people say the spar thing, to me, it's just like that's just a weird question because like. To me, that is something that if you didn't do it, like, why should you have to ask that? Like, shouldn't that just be assumed? Does that make sense? Do you know what I'm saying? I'm not saying, like, I'm mad at the question. I mean, more of, like, it's like a waste of time.
I guess we're trying to gauge, are you is it one of those styles where, like, oh, they don't spar, they just do, like, drills really
I think every style that's legit should spar.
Okay.
Is what I'm trying, does that make sense? So
that
I'm
makes sense. Yeah,
I'm not defensive like, oh, are you calling me? No, because, like, our school did it, but I'll be honest. That school, like back then when I was training there as a kid, you think you're a badass because you're training. But like the toughest guy there was probably like some guy named Jim who was an engineer in his free time. It wasn't a fighting gym. And that's what people don't understand.
I see what you're saying.
Is that they try to like talk in context of martial arts and fighting and these like I always think it's funny, especially with Asian martial arts. Like they're like living in a Jianghu world. It doesn't exist anymore. That didn't exist maybe back then even, right? And so when I say that, it's like, yeah, people spar in Shaolin, but when it's a case by case basis, like did my school, we did. But yeah, we weren't like the ass kickers that I thought we were.
In the Wushu schools that you've trained in Beijing or Songjiang, did you guys spar or?
Yes and no. It was divided because like that's another thing people don't understand about Wushu is as a sport, it was split up to because like in Chinese, you know how like the I'll use this as an example like writing.
Yeah.
How they try to simplify it so that everybody could do it because daji daba, right?
Yeah.
Same thing with styles. Like so much bullshit happened, I think, with Asian martial arts where like people claim this, claim that, because they're just trying to market it to something that's different. That's all it is.
Yeah.
I hate to. People don't want to hear it, and maybe I'm wrong. I don't know, but this is just how I feel.
Yeah.
Is that people want to pretend like there's these weird sense of codes of honor that they do exist, but they don't want to look at reality. They want to bury their head in the sand. Which, that phrase isn't even true. Ostriches don't even do that. But what I mean by do they spar is like, yes, because Wushu is divided as Taolu and Sanda. Taolu is all forms. So when you compete in Taolu, you do that. You don't worry about sparring. Maybe they learn. I don't know. But I never really saw the Taolu people sparring. The people you saw sparring were the Sanda guys. Like the Chinese kickboxing, right? And because they were sport specific. They were training to do it. And yeah, some of the Sanda guys could do Taolu. Some of the Taolu guys could maybe do that. But it's not even...
I see what you're saying. It's such a broad Wushu is such a broad category, and then there's people within Wushu who do specialize in science.
And in America, also different. It's very different. But like people always wanted they want these definitive qualifying answers, and when you give them that, they don't want to believe it.
Yeah.
Like when I tell someone like, okay, look, and this sounds terrible. Like there's some great Wushu people out there who they know. I know. I'm not even the person who knows it. Like, tons of people know this. Never fucking probably fought a real fight in their life. And that doesn't take anything away from their martial arts. It really doesn't. They know what they're doing. They know how to do stuff. But, like, then, you have those weird questions of, like, would this Wushu guy be able to beat Mike Tyson, whatever? Like,
God. Yeah,
sorry,
yeah,
no.
Yeah,
no, but it doesn't take any away the respect from what they can do.
Yeah,
You know? It's just two different things. It's like, would a ping pong player beat a tennis person in a match?
Right.
Like, similar... But it's no.
Would Muhammad Ali beat Bruce Lee?
Why are we having these? And I love Bruce Lee. I'm not going to throw my sins in that because I love Bruce Lee. I'm going to bury my head in the sand there. But Yeah. So anyway, I'm sorry. I know this sounds like I'm getting defensive or where I should just give you straight answers, but I think that's part of the fun opportunity that we have here is that like just being able to, because that like when we talked earlier, how we even met. That's why maybe I had reservations talking is because people don't want to hear it.
Yeah.
If you really want my opinion about it, this is what I'm giving to you.
Yeah.
Maybe you agree with it, maybe you don't. But maybe it opens up a dialogue, right?
That's what we're here for.
But when I'm sorry, real quick. When I'm asked questions like, do they spar in Shaolin? The 3 school, that's legit. And again, Daniel, I've never met you. I'm not calling you out. I'm sure we'd get along fine. But when they say, do you spar in Shaolin? I'm just like, really? Like I'm not offended. I'm like, why? If you've been training so long, why do you care? Like, why are you curious about it? Don't you already know? Like, you don't need to ask me. I'm not any authority. Like, if you were by a Shaolin monk, I'd be like, yeah, ask him. But like, ask me like, what was the hardest punch I ever did? Or some shit like that. You get what I'm saying?
For some reason, I thought that you trained at the Shaolin temple.
Nah.
So that's why he's probably asking.
Oh, no.
I said like, yeah, I think he trained at the Shaolin temple, which was my misinformation.
No.
Yeah.
No, but and to be fair too.
Yeah.
Again, maybe I'm missing it. I'm pretty sure that's how it is like at Shaolin too, where it's like they have their form guys and they have their summons.
Or it's part of their training
they
system.
probably do a little bit more than because you have to realize like the guys who are on the top national teams in China doing wushu.
Yeah.
It's like it's such a difficult. It's okay. Like it's like actors, right? Like some actors might act, some might do their own stunts. Okay, and some stunt guys might act.
Because you do stunts too.
Yeah, but if an actor didn't know how to do their stunts, you wouldn't be like, oh, you don't know how to make movies. Or if a stunt guy didn't know how to act, you know what I mean? Like it's like that's the
There's a specialization.
Yeah, I'm just like
Okay, we're coming close to 2 hours now, so I'm gonna go ahead, skip ahead. We're gonna go to language corner.
Okay.
And I'm gonna language corner.
Whee!
This language corner is where we share a language that we're learning or something from our own personal culture that phrase that we've learned. Today I was practicing some Japanese and and the phrase that I was learning today was called Hanmen kyōshi. Hanmen kyōshi in Chinese, the kanji characters, if I were going to say it in Chinese pronunciation, is 反面教师. So basically, literally reverse teacher. Okay. And the way that my Japanese friend explained it, she said that it's basically learning from bad teachers. So example could be that maybe there's some aspects of, okay, for instance, maybe a family member or like real talk, like my dad and I, we were getting along a lot better than before. Good. Yeah. But there are some things about my father, and he'll be the first one to say that you know what? I gotta learn from his mistakes. He made some major mistakes in his life, and he admits it. And so that's an example of a Hanmen kyōshi is a reverse teacher. He taught me what not to do, and that's something. Going back to Jack Ma, is like you gotta learn from your failures because there's so many different paths to success. There's no single path to success, but it seems that a lot of the mistakes are similar mistakes, not falling in with the wrong crowd, not spending money prudently. Like the mistakes all follows fairly similar principles. So,
unless you want to be a criminal, then I feel like that's the reverse teacher, right? Don't learn from the good people.
Yeah. So that's my language corner today. Did you have a phrase that you were thinking like maybe something in Mandarin that you've thought of before that you liked from like your mom might have taught you or something?
Oh man, there's a lot. I can't say honestly lately, right? But like I will say one of the does that have to be in Chinese or it can be anything or
just another language or it could be like slang English or something from Taoist.
We'll start with Chinese.
Yeah.
Well, actually, I should ask my cousin because this is a really good one. But it was kind of like learning from failures,
Oh, cool.
But I can't remember it off the top of my head. But one of the ones that I definitely love, and there's a story to it that I'll tell some other time, is 对牛弹琴, which is know your audience, right? And I think the older I get, the more I realize, like, definitely play to your audience, play to your strengths, right? Because I think for a lot of, especially being Asians, I think something that's not talked about is that this idea of perfection is always put on us, whether it's internal, whether it's from our upbringings, whatever, right? And kind of like what you said, like learn from the bad, right?
Yeah.
I think what really sucks for Asians is we always feel like we know in our hearts failure is good because we learn from mistakes, but we always feel like we have to be perfect. We can't fail. Like even as actors, right? Like this is the one business where like rejection is par with the course. You have to take it.
You have to take it.
But yet I think we might internalize it more than others, like whether it's the race issue, whether it's, our looks or age or whatever intangible we can't really control. Like, if you didn't get the role, it's like something I did that was wrong.
There's something with your self-worth that is takes a hit.
And it is universal. Like, all actors, performers will have that. But I do feel like a lot of my non-Asian friends take it a little less. Like, they're able, in a good way, they're able to compartmentalize, like, yo, I wasn't tall enough for this role. Whoa, I was too tall for this role. Oh, I was, you know, whatever.
Right,
but
something
for
you
us,
couldn't control.
and so, Duìniútánqín, and again, I'm kind of...
对牛弹琴.
I always fuck it up, but like,
对牛弹琴.
but I'm kind of what do you call it? Interpreting in a weird way. But as far as playing to your audience, as I get older now, and I find myself like, what, as a man of Asian descent, as just a man, right, in general, in this crazy world, like, I'm trying to play more to the people, not that think like me necessarily, because I don't believe in that. I don't believe like just stick to your small bubble of, because that doesn't help you.
That doesn't help. Yeah.
But I think play to the idea that, like, look, when you meet someone, like, play to what you guys can get along with, play to the things that you guys can enjoy together, versus like always going like the path of most resistance. You know what I'm saying? Because especially in this day and age, right? Like, and why I think that's important too is like, so I was watching this video of someone today about this kid, right? He got pushed down. It was pretty bad to watch, right? When what happened was this guy, this kid and this guy were getting an argument, and the video got cut that the internet saw that went viral. It was like this this grown man, kind of choking a kid and slamming him to the ground, and the kid's crying, right?
Gosh.
Well, someone posted a reaction video saying no one saw what happened before, and I'm not saying it's justified, but the kid has some problems. He got up in that guy's face, was punching him, was cursing him out, and apparently the story goes that he was throwing rocks or something at some people's cars, and that guy called him out like, "Hey, stop doing that!" And then said he's going to call his mom, and then that poor kid, right? He definitely had, like, he's got some severe problems. I'm not making fun of him, right?
Yeah.
I won't lie to you. My gut reaction sometimes to these things, because we see so much fucked up shit on the internet. A lot of people too were saying like, "Oh yeah, see, he got what he's like this." Like, we blame the old guy for doing it, but in reality, this kid was out of control and blah blah blah. It's like, like they're trying to justify why the kid got pushed down.
Right.
And to be fair, if I was in that situation, if you were in that situation, I don't know how I would have reacted.
I don't know the whole story.
Yeah, I would like
story.
to say that I would have taken the high road and whatever, because my gut reaction for I think a lot of people was like, "Oh yeah, the kid got what he deserved," right? But then my other gut reaction was like, "Man, I saw the sum of problems that wasn't just what we saw. That kid maybe has a bad home life, maybe whatever it is, maybe he has a great home. I don't know, but that kid has issues. And while I understand him getting pushed down, all that bad stuff happening to him was like what everybody knee-jerks like, oh, okay, he had what's coming to him. I felt like I was like, damn, like I just felt bad for that kid. Like I wish I could talk to him, because he's not a bad kid.
So how does this relate to 对牛弹琴?
So 对牛弹琴.
Bringing it back.
I'm sorry.
Bringing it back.
It's the fact that, like, I think a lot of times it's very easy to then play to your audience like, oh yeah, he deserved that, right?
Okay.
Or, oh yeah, like the people who don't agree with that, like, oh yeah, we need to talk to him. But I think 牛弹琴or 对牛弹琴 is that finding that middle ground to be like, okay, I can talk to both sides of it. So where it doesn't become an argument, where I can say, like, hey, you know what? I agree with these parts of it. But let me tell you why the other half of it, maybe we could meet on a middle ground.
It's a discussion.
Yeah, and then the other side.
And the investigation, maybe. Yeah.
So that it's not just like, you're right, you're wrong, you're whatever. Because really, like, let's be real. Some poor kid out there went out and he's wilding out, and some guy pushed him down. What does that teach him? Now, the guy who's getting beaten up, the older man, he didn't deserve any of that either.
Yeah.
And again, I'm not saying one's good or bad. Like, violence just taught that kid more violence. Mm-hmm. But again, like I said, I don't know how I would have dealt in that situation. But but like, play to your audience there, like, like.
Yeah, and then 对牛弹琴, I mean it literally means playing piano for a cow. Right?
Yep.
So basically, the cow's like, what's going on? Like I don't.
It's like wasted effort for a cow.
It's kind of like this cow is like, wait, I don't care if it's Bach or whatever. Like, what are you doing?
Yeah.
Like, yeah. And this guy's like, oh, I'm playing like Rachmaninoff or some shit. Like, it's like some beautiful. And the cow's just like eating the grass. Like, okay. But then sidebar. But I think in Kobe beef or like Kobe, I think they play like music or classical music. For, like,
Well, and to be fair, look, I definitely stretched. I'm not trying to be like some pretentious fop and trying to sound more intelligent about that, but it's true. I do believe the 牛对称, and the only reason I relate to that issue, right, was because it was very polarizing.
Yeah.
Because like I see both sides of the equation and why both people would say what they say, and no one's right or wrong, to be honest. I mean, we can all agree that you shouldn't be putting hands on a kid, right?
Yeah, like a freaking kid. Yeah.
And when I say he was a kid, he was probably in middle school.
Yeah.
Which is, he's still a kid. Like, you're 20, you're still a kid, right? But I just think what it was like, it was such a knee-jerk reaction where I think any of us seeing this like out of context, you would automatically go to one extreme or the other, right?
Right.
But in reality, it's like you weren't, and so
we need to know what the story is. What's the story? Yeah.
And so playing to the audience, like you would either play to that side or the outside. But really, honestly, I think there's a middle ground where you play to that audience.
Oh, interesting.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
That's what I'm
really
trying to
like
say.
that
you know?
interpretation. Yeah.
Yeah.
So last. Okay, before we sign off, I had one thing I wrote down was advice. What advice would you give to, let's say,
How much time do we have left? Like
just very quickly, just what advice would you give to a younger version of yourself today? I guess or like a Asian American actor trying to make it right now, coming to LA, straight out of college.
Lay off the carbs, man. No, gosh, wow, that's good. You know what? I would really tell him, just don't worry so much about what other people think. I know that's so cliche, but also, and I mean, a lot of platitudes I'm throwing out here, but like, I realized I worried so much about things that didn't happen, and what was the point of worrying about it? Relax, don't worry so much. And my dad tells me this all the time, and it's only hitting me now that I'm getting older. I used to think it was just like, hey, just whatever advice, like not thought out, right? Like you would just say to someone,
It's a platitude, yeah.
But I definitely say 1, relax, breathe. 2, be okay with change and realize that like I got so concerned for a long time about time, whether it was your age, whether it was your the right timing for something or not. But like, dude, just realize that in this business and just in life in general, I would say like it's not all one shot. Because I think growing up, and this is a very romanticized idea of like, trying to make it, is you think like, it's like the Eminem's like, only got one shot, now it's time to chance.
Yeah, that's really damaging actually. Like,
but in reality, I was always throwing up spaghetti. Like always throwing up moms, but like I think the reality too is that, and as Asian Americans, and I even heard it from my family, right?
Yeah.
There's if I really showed, and we all have these stories, right? And I'm not trying to inflate myself or anything, but like I've had a lot of these times where it was like, oh, your golden opportunity, your moment, and when things just didn't work out, even because like at the time you think, I fucked it up. You didn't. It's just that it wasn't right there. I had a mentor who he passed away recently. I had 2 mentors, and I'm gonna name them because they deserve naming. Stephen Gerald, college mentor, great guy. And then one, unfortunately, and I think this is important to say, she is still a pioneer of Asian Americans in film, Elizabeth Sung.
Yeah.
She was a mentor of mine as well. They both were people who, because they were obviously older than I am, been there, done that, but they both always would just like, they could look at you with that wisdom and say like, hey, like it's not over. You look at things as like it's either now or never. And I think that's the arrogance of youth, right?
Yes.
And I really wish I could tell myself so many times when things didn't work out, instead of like falling into like a depression and thinking like I blew it.
Yeah.
Take the time to mourn it, but get up. Keep doing what you're doing. Keep putting in that grind. So I think what's tough for a lot of us is Asian Americans, when we don't get it that first time, because we're so used to like, I do A, do B, then I get C, then I get D.
This is one track mind.
Yeah.
Things planned out.
When A goes to, sometimes it's great. When A goes to D, like, oh, I can't believe that happened. What? But then when you get to D, and you're like, all right, I'm just going to keep going. Then you go back to B, then you go back to C, then you come back to F or whatever. I think other cultures deal with it a lot better than we do.
Oh,
but
interesting.
We're always so taught to like, you can't fuck it up. And another to your point, like what your dad was saying, learn from his mistakes.
Yeah.
I don't know if you felt this way, but like growing up, my mom and my dad were always, well, not so much my dad, but my mom was very much like, mienzi, right? Like you can't fuck up. Don't let them see you fuck up, right?
Yeah.
And as I get older, my mom was always like telling me like, it's okay. Like if you never try, you'll never learn. But it's conflicting because when you're younger, they're like, don't do this. You'll fuck up here. You're like, don't fuck it up.
Yeah.
And again, shout out, because Elizabeth Song was just in a great movie called For Izzy.
Okay.
If you can see it, just play it at LA Asian Film Festival here in LA. If you can find it, please see it. I don't want to do any spoilers, but it definitely talks a lot about addiction, mental health, and really like kind of the diaspora between families. It's an Asian story, but it's not, if that makes sense, right? Like, I don't want to speak for the film because I'm not, in any way associated with it, but like, it has great storytelling in that this could be for any family. Great. But that's why I think it's important to see, because it does have Asian things. But again, I'm not trying to speak for it, but there's a part in the movie that I get goosebumps saying it, and I don't remember the exact words. I've only seen it once, but the character that she says, and it really broke down to where the mom's talking to the daughter and saying to her, it's not that I don't want you to screw up because, I don't love you, or like, because obviously they love you, right?
Yeah,
but like,
yeah,
it's
yeah.
because you messing up makes me realize my mistakes. And it's like, when you parents say like, again, I don't want to butcher this because there's great directors, actors, and writers who, I can't speak for them, right? But it was a very real moment that at least spoke to me in the sense of, we always think that if we mess up for our parents, like, learn from our mistakes. If we do the same mistakes they do, we're double shamed.
Yeah.
Because like we learn nothing from their struggle, right?
Yeah.
Like it was for nothing, like 白做 or 白痴, like it was like done for nothing, right?
Yeah.
And what I really loved about that is it took that deep emotion, like, because sometimes our Asian parents can't tell us what they really feel, right?
Like, I love you.
Yeah. But the reality of it was like, when you screw up, it's not that we think you're a failure, but we're a failure because
that's
you,
some deep shit, dog.
You didn't learn from, and that hurt because it's like so many people are being affected by that, right? Like the pain. And so why I say all that shit is like, if I could tell younger Tiger that, I would say that. I would be like, look, man, like a failure on you isn't like, because like that, I don't know if do you ever feel that was like when I would not get like maybe an audition, I feel like I failed myself, my family, like I've dishonored the Shaolin Temple, like it was everything.
My mom's wasted so much money and time on me. Oh my gosh, yeah. I mean, and something my father said that was quite touching recently was like, he said, James, you remind me a lot of myself, kind of playing into like, so he's kind of like saying what you like. That like when you feel, I feel like I feel, because he's like, he sees a lot of himself in me, and I think, dude, that's some touching shit, because basically, you know what, at the end of the day, we have to make our own mistakes.
Yeah.
But what with that, we honor our family, our ancestors, but
the Shaolin Temple,
but at the same time, we have to also, I think I have to understand that this is part of the process. I'm making my own mistakes, and I'm learning, and no one's perfect. This idea of perfection is very can be very damaging. Yeah.
Oh, and what I think is also crazy too, like just tying it in not only with martial arts, but with even our families, right? Like I don't know exactly your parents' background, but a lot of us who made it to America, like we didn't make it, right? We were born here, but our parents made it. They were like probably most of them like trailblazers in the sense of like, everybody's like, dude, don't do that shit. You're taking a giant risk. You know what I'm saying? Does that make sense?
That makes sense.
Like they were a lot of times like the black sheeps of their family, because maybe they and apart from maybe they're running for like better lives, right? But like I know, you look at some of my family that's overseas still, right?
Yeah.
Like they have great lives there.
Sure.
But to be the one who's like, look, I'm gonna take everything that I know and come over here, and like, so when I think about stuff like that, like, dude, those are those risks, those failures that they had.
Yeah.
That they try to keep us from, but in reality, the only reason they were able to tell us that is because they did it.
Yeah.
And it's unhealthy. And so I would say one quick thing too about martial arts, right? It's like anybody who's ever fought or competed or whatever, we all want this idea of like we're always winning. Or like I remember when I boxed, man, when I lost, it sucks. You don't want to lose.
You don't want to lose.
But it taught me more like, yo, like I did this shit. Like,
yeah.
And I would never know what it felt like on the other side, even if you lose.
Yeah.
Then without, and like I'll be honest, like I look at the times when I was younger and I won things, like you won, but it didn't really teach me anything other than like, okay, your hard work paid off. That's how it's supposed to go. But when you lost, it was like, what it taught me was like, dude, it wasn't the end of the world.
Right.
Like I had, and so I think that applies to martial arts. And you look at how martial arts are created, how like 米中我汉, right?
Yeah.
If again by the history of it, again, I'm not a historian, but the guy who created it was like a combination of like a mantis style, northern style, and whatever. And at that time, I'm sure people were like, what's wrong with you, bro? Like you can't do that, or like Wing Chun, right?
Right.
Wing Chun was created by a female monk, right?
Yeah.
And it was because she was getting beaten up by other like stronger
the other
people.
Shaolins. Yeah.
And I'm sure everybody was like, oh, you are, how dare you? Like, and guess what? She created something that left a legacy.
Right. You can't connect like Steve Jobs.
You can't connect the dots now.
Yeah, you can't connect the dots going forward, but you can go connect them going back. And who knows? There's some like young buck now who's doing some crazy shit. I can't wait till I'll be like, wait, you're doing some crazy shit. I don't know. And then I realize, wait, he or she is solving the problems for his generation,
Yeah.
And basically the way that the failures and the ways, the solutions that we're gonna make, and you cannot solve the solutions of today with only the ideas of the past. They can help. The ideas of the past can help inform it, but at the end of the day, to make something fucking great and new, you have to come at it with a new perspective and something that fucking like try to explain Facebook to my dad 15 years ago, he would be like, what
Yeah,
the fuck?
yeah, straight up, straight up.
He'd be like, what the fuck are you talking about?
Yeah.
Anyways, any last thoughts? Are we good? Yeah.
Okay, if I can go back in history and tell Tiger one last thing, I'd be like, yo, bro, like, you need to party a lot more. You need to do some crazy
And you need
shit.
to buy some Facebook stock, or
Yeah, well, okay, yeah, man, I see, that's my mind. I'm not even thinking that deep, because I will say this. I don't know
okay.
when you started doing all this stuff with acting and whatnot,
Yeah.
I was young and I was really working at my career hard. And
that's fine, yeah.
More or less, I feel like, I had some good early success. But I will say, again, like, why I would tell them to start worries, because, man, as an adult now, I just realized, like, the grind never fucking ends. You think you've maybe created some sort of, like, reputation or, I don't know, goodwill or, like, not, or entitlement to, like, hey, like, I've paid my dues, right?
Yeah,
But,
and I should be able to relax now.
yeah. And I would just tell myself, like, that I would really tell myself, and to people out there, too, it's like, while that is true, you do earn things.
Yeah.
Same time, like, hey, don't worry that, like, you have to keep trying. You have to keep proving this. Because I will say one last really good thing is that one of my greatest teachers that I had, Guy Mesger, UFC champ. Yeah.
Guy Mesger.
Badass, certified badass. Could never look him in the eye because he's so alpha, right? I don't know if he says this to everybody, but I remember the first time I trained, because thanks to my sister, she was training with him.
Wow.
I'd been doing Muay Thai in college, and I went and trained at his gym, and man, it just kicked my fucking ass, man. Like, and he comes from the old, like, Lion's Den, like, you know, and we were working out, and he's just such a good man. Like, he's a very good role model, but he's a very, like, you give it 100%. He doesn't cut you a lot of slack, but not in a bad way, not in like a, you know, but like to prove to you, not to him, that you can do this. And I remember when I met him, after class, I was like, hey, thank you, Master Mesger. I didn't know what to call him, right?
Yeah.
And he's like, don't call me Master. And I was like, whoa, like, he kind of yelled at me. Like, that's just how he is. It wasn't yelling, but that's just how he is, right? And I was like, oh, I'm sorry. Like, do I call you Sensei? He's like, no. And people do call him Sensei Mesger. People do call him, like, these things.
Because his background is Kung Fu, I think.
No. Taekwondo, I think.
Taekwondo,
like, traditional stuff, right?
Yeah.
But what struck me was I just thought he was saying that because I had said the wrong thing, right? Like, I should call him
interesting.
CEO. Well,
Okay,
in
I see what
reality,
you're
what he
saying,
told me, he's like, and again, this was years ago, and I don't want to talk for him because he can kick my ass even to this day. Like, he goes, don't call me Master, not because that's not my title. It's because I'm teaching you to be a master of yourself, and it does you no good, and it does me no good. Just put something in place that elevates me beyond something that, like, if you didn't know that I was already, like, you know, right? Like, if you didn't already know that he was the shit, right? Like, better than you or whatever,
UFC,
then using the words master is just a formality, right? And he's like, I understand the respect of it. And again, I don't want to speak for him because, like, there are people who do call him Master Mesger, but the interaction between me and him, and he goes, the reason why is because, like, when the shit goes down, it doesn't matter that you train with me or you train with XYZ, whoever, Master, Grandmaster. It's like, it's you. It's your life. And I'm teaching you to be a master of yourself.
Right.
And that shit just clicked with me. What's up, bud?
Yeah.
How's it going? And like, Mesger didn't say that. It was like something wrong. But like, so when he told me, he's like, I want you to be a master of yourself. And he goes, and the reason why is because every day you come in here and you earn respect from me by what you do. And in turn, I earn respect from you because I can't just sit on my heels and pretend that, like, because I was this back then, I was that back then.
Yeah.
You still give me these, like, I'm earning respect every day just like you are. So, and you know, and clearly, right, like, he's like, you can call me coach, you can call me sir, you can call me instructor, but, like, don't, you know, like, and I realized that it was a mind-blowing thing because we do a lot of these codes and these ways of dealing with people where, like, we give this false thing that I mean, look, I 100% believe he's a master, right? Whether he says so or not, like, he's legit. But what I mean is that, like, James, if I walked up to you and I said to you, like, oh, like, Master James or whatever, and the proof wasn't, I'm not saying it isn't, but you get what I mean? Like,
it would be weird.
Yeah, like, or if you call me Master based on what you think of me, but, like, let's say I wasn't doing to that extent. What's the fucking point?
Yeah.
Let's be real about things. Let's, like, so the struggle tying back into is it's always happening. Like Guy, that's why I respect him so much, is he easily could just be like, I have nothing else to prove to anybody, you know?
Yeah.
But he continues to, not just for others, not for the fame or whatever, but because he knows that's how he's going to prove himself.
Great.
And if a guy like that can do that still, who's like, I could spend 2, 3, 4, 5 lifetimes trying to achieve that, and I wouldn't.
Yeah.
Like what he's done in like 5 years, 10 years. Like,
Yeah.
That he's going after still, then, like, dude, I can do that too. You can do that. Does that make all sense? Like,
that makes sense. It's like, it's for the people. The people can do it. You can do it.
Yeah.
I can do it. It's like, oh, it's not only masters, whatever that term means, can do it.
And I would tell young Tiger that, like, stop trying to be a master today. Like, be a master of your life. Not a master of this month. Not a master of 2-3 years, you got to keep fucking earning it. You know?
Right.
So.
Yeah. All right. Well, that's our podcast. I think we have a record. This is our longest podcast yet.
Is that good, or should I be embarrassed?
No,
to, like,
I mean, you're
yap
number
so
one
much?
at this. So that, I mean, at the longest podcast. So all right, that's it for today. This is gonna. Thank you so much, Tiger.
Yeah,
Thank you.
buddy.
Yeah,
Thank you.
yeah. That was great.
I'm gonna do one of these to you. Right
Okay. Yeah. So he just did a Shaolin salute to me. So anyways, we do a sign off at the end. This is gonna be Young, aka James, signing off. And if you want to sign off,
and this is Tiger, man.
and then till next time. Thank you.